across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, I just want to say, before we start this show tonight, and we're going to be talking to Ellie Hodges in a moment because she has found out about discrimination against students at the University of Sussex who have attempted to join the Reform Party. But I want to talk to you before we start about anything. And I've always said that I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but Leo Ross, 12 years old, stabbed in Birmingham in the Hall Green area of the city. No doubt you know it.
No, very well, yeah.
OK, yeah. So he gets stabbed by a 14-year-old. Now, we do not know anything about this 14-year-old except that they're now 15 and he has pleaded guilty to stabbing this young man, Leo Ross, and attempting to stab other women in the park. He went out on a stabbing spree for apparently no reason. This follows on from the attacking of Anita Muckie, who was stabbed in London, in Edgware. She was stabbed something like 12 times by a man called Jamal, I think his name Dabella, who came from Ethiopia. Then we have Axel Ruda-Cabana, who goes on a stabbing spree against a group of children in Southport. Why is it that we continually have these people attacking people randomly in the street, going out to parks on stabbing sprees, and time again, the police say there is no reason for it? Axel Ruda-Cabana had no interest in anything. The guy who came from Ethiopia and stabbed Anita Muckie has no interest whatsoever. He did it for no reason, apparently. And then, of course, this young man once again gets stabbed for no reason whatsoever. Well, we don't know about the backgrounds of all of these people, but there are rumours that Axel Ruda-Cabana goes to mosque in Belmarsh. Similarly, the chap who attacked the woman in Birmingham, he's got a Muslim name and he's from Ethiopia. We don't know anything about the guy who's pleaded guilty and been sentenced today because he has gloves on, his face is obscured. But I want to ask you this question. How many lone wolf knife attacks did Britain have before uncontrolled immigration? How many times did it happen?
Look at the terror attacks. Look at London Bridge. Look at Westminster Bridge. Look at Manchester Arena. Look at 7-7, Borough Market, Streatham. You know, it's endless. Look at all the barriers we have to have. I mean, it's changed, hasn't it? And the way they deal with it is by denying there's any problem, and anyone who says anything will end up in poking.
Well, there we go. So Jamal Dabella, who apparently the reason that he did it was he was a paranoid schizophrenic. Axel Ruda-Cabana, apparently he was a choir boy from Wales who did it just for whatever reason. And now we've got this latest case. Now, I have to say to you, and I just want to give you a warning here, I don't know anything about the attacker who killed Leo Ross. But what I know is, time and time again, we have these people who are going out on lone wolf knife attacks, stabbing people randomly in the street, and time again, the police say one of two things. Either the person was mentally ill, or they can find no justification. So somebody stabs, 4 people in a park in what part of Birmingham was it again?
Hall Green, yeah.
In Hall Green. And nobody knows any reason why he did it.
The Tolkien country, where J.R. Tolkien...
Has Hall Green been subject to mass immigration?
Well, it's definitely demographically changed. I went to school there nearby in Moseley, and I had a lot of mates up in Hall Green. In fact, my best mate was lived down there off Wake Green Road. Yeah, I know it well, and it was a very nice leafy suburb. Well, and now it's a dangerous suburb.
Well, I want
near Spark Hill, which has now got the jihadi guy standing.
I would love to know. I would love to know from the police. I would love to know from social workers. I would love to know from MI5. Why is it that suddenly ordinary British people, quote unquote, are going out knifing people in the street in unprovoked lone wolf attacks? And I think it's very, very simple. I think if you don't shout Allah Akbar, then they immediately put it down as a mental health problem, or they just say that they can find no reason why he did it. Axel Rudikabana has ricin and the Al-Qaeda training manual in his bedroom, and they say he's not a terrorist. He had no terrorist motivation. He had the Al-Qaeda training manual. Well, we're prosecuting him for a terrorist offence, but he's not a terrorist because we don't think he had the Al-Qaeda training manual because he was motivated by support of Al-Qaeda. What garbage!
But it's sort of irrelevant, isn't it, in that way? I mean, it's sort of where it comes from is irrelevant, but obviously a lot of the time it does come from.
Well, we don't know whether Leo Ross was a racist murderer. We will never find out anything about his attacker, but I will say this. Look, if you can come up with an example from the 1970s, the 1960s, the 1950s of somebody coming out, people coming out on a regular basis with a knife stabbing people randomly. There was the Thomas Hamilton instance in Dunblane that I can remember. That was a gun, and he was a well-known nutter. I think there was a guy in Hungerford.
Hungerford massacre.
But now these massacres happen every week, and we seem to be unable to explain why they happened. Anyway, it's something to think about, but I do want to say, in answer to the Leo Ross thing, we don't know what motivated this killer, but it's remarkable that every week now we have lone wolf psychological events which have led to people randomly stabbing people in the street, almost as if they'd read the Al-Qaeda training manual, which is exactly what the Al-Qaeda training manual tells you to do. Anyway, we will leave it there, and we will go now to Ellie Hodges. Ellie, welcome. You are a journalist, and we just want to talk about this story that you found out from the University of Sussex. Now, I could set it up and say it's all about discrimination of students who want to support reform, but why don't you tell us precisely what you found? I know we've got some clips as well.
So students tried to set up a reform society at the university, and it's kind of off what Students for Reform is, which has come from reform in order to try and challenge the left-wing culture in universities. So they've gone and set this up, and they've put up an Instagram post saying, we've been approved as a society, and they've had thousands and thousands of comments. These include death threats, other types of threats, very violent threats, harassment. They've had private messages about this as well, thousands and thousands of them. And these included things like, hope you get set on fire, jump off a bridge, ones that were going to skin you, these kind of things.
Typical
really,
lefty.
really awful stuff.
Presumably, by the way, I didn't mean to elbow you, Asher, though. I wasn't neither encouraging nor this. But one would assume these are the sort of messages that, had they been sent to a left-wing group, would have solicited a fairly significant police response.
And the thing is, as well, is all of these comments were on Instagram, so these were on public accounts, some with either their first and second names on them. So they were comfortable enough to put these kind of comments publicly, because they know that nothing's actually going to happen.
Can't the university do something about it?
The university, I think they took a while to respond, and then they did a statement saying that they commit to free speech and the society can still be set up, but they haven't actually took any action against these students that are saying these type of things. And they had their Freshers' Fair today. And they had to have a police presence there. They couldn't be on the stall for too long just because all of the threats. There was a mass protest. There's accounts called Anti-Fascist Students at Sussex, which are countering the Reform Society, and they were saying things on their account like, right, we're going to do this protest. Know your rights. Make sure you're wearing a mask so people can't identify you. It's a really coordinated plan.
They're the fascists.
And I went and spoke to the students that actually set up this society.
We've got a little clip, actually.
Yeah, let's show you.
Let's have a look at the first clip of Ellie talking to the students.
You see across campus, there's just this complete left-wing echo chamber. It's all just Marxists and things like that, Literally myself, I didn't even say my real opinions for about 2 years here. It took me about 2 years to actually meet people with similar opinions. And yeah, people are just too scared to speak out.
Did you think it was going to be to this extent? Because this has been awful.
Wake up one morning and there's just hundreds of comments, and they just keep coming in more and more and more, and now it's over 1,000 comments there, and within this it's death threats. We've been told, hope you set on fire, beat them to death with hammers, things like that. They want to mail firecrackers to our door, things like this, and it's just mental.
It's illegal, sir. Death threats are illegal.
I've got to be honest with you. Like, so some people can hear what that interview was, and some people. He looks like the sort of bloke you could have a pint with. You know, like you see all the. Let's be honest with you. The left wingers, they're all really ugly, and they've got like weird stuff in their face, and you know they've got orange hair or whatever, and not the good Scottish orange hair. I mean the dyed stuff. Yeah, he just looks like a normal bloke.
But that is, you know, a lot of them do have mental issues. If you're left wing, it's been shown that you will. A lot of them do have psychological issues, and this will manifest. I always think funny coloured hair rings through your nose.
I always think that the most boring people you ever meet are the sort of alternative people. You know, with the blue hair, or I've got green hair and no personality.
That's the thing. When I spoke to them as well, they just seemed so normal, and they said, "Oh, we wanted to do the society because it's what we believe in." And all of the other societies at the university, they only have left-wing ones. So it's the Green Society and the Marxist Society, and that is it. There is no right-wing society. I think they tried to do a conservative one a couple of years ago, and that just got shut down immediately. They couldn't do it.
Forgive me, University of Sussex is Brighton, isn't it?
Yes.
Right.
Yes,
so whereabouts is it? Right in the centre of Brighton?
It's maybe 15 minutes away.
Oh, okay. So it's one of these sort of out-of-town Lancaster.
It's a very
lefty
one, wasn't it? It was sort of founded in like the 60s, and it was all a hippie.
It is known for being left-wing, and they said that as well. They just
it's
say
full of Greens around.
Yeah.
So there's various types of university, isn't there? There's the Oxford and Cambridge, then there's the red bricks. These are the ones that were built out of town. They're called things like Sussex University, Lancaster University, place like that. Yeah, okay.
The low-quality universities.
So no, they're all right, but they were designed mostly for people who are kind of quite good but want to stay local to where they are. But anyway,
thick people.
No, not for thick people. Not for thick. No, there are some universities that are for thick people. I'll be honest with you. If you're at London Met, just leave. But are we going to get away with that?
The thing is, the problem with this is the fact that
I had a friend who did dance at London Met. He didn't last long.
The views in which they have, you know, supporting reform, they're literally at the top of the polls. This isn't like it's a fringe extremist opinion. No. And one of the people I interviewed actually said to me,
well, let's
watch the video. Let's watch the video.
It might be the right clip.
Second thing, free speech at all when they're trying to censor a new way of thinking and a new party. I mean, there's groups and societies for every party in this uni, but they don't want to reform one. I mean, and then they say we're fascists, but a fascist wouldn't allow another opinion, and that's exactly what they've done. So it's completely ridiculous and it's backwards.
It's Clark Kent there.
Yeah, okay. Ellie's filmed all this. Let's just keep coming.
This is great, and it's in all the papers, hasn't it? You've really launched this story. Let's have you got another one in the video. Yeah, press the play.
It goes against the university's principles to allow this to happen because reform believes in segregation, racism and xenophobia. And I mean, that's just frankly not true. You don't have to be a reform supporter to know that that is not true. And throwing words around like that is really dangerous because people will have a reaction to that.
I don't particularly want to go to university when you realise you're going to have to deal with this day in, day out. And if you're making yourself known, you're not very safe. It doesn't matter who you are, what you can do, you're still not safe. And you know, they might attack you at any point, you don't know. Because they're very clear from their comments that they're violent. While they may not follow through, you can't really take that risk. So I wouldn't want to be in a place where I can't be safe 24/7 on campus.
It's true, they do look like normal people, don't they? It's funny.
So I think there's a couple of things we can ask about. Obviously, how venomous these messages are. I've got to be honest with you. Death threats don't bother me. I could paper the walls.
But they're
with
criminal offence. I mean, have the police got
And I think it was how many there was as well.
How many were there?
This is like thousands of comments. Thousands of comments. Private messages, people putting it on their story, organised protests. It's very much, they said, we knew we were going to get like backlash of some sort because we're at a university in Brighton. Of course we are. But to the extent of which it was insane.
Do you know what would be really interesting, Ellie? And I don't know if you can legally do it. It might be worth us checking here with legal. Get you, right, and falsify a load of death threats against you from the political left. Then get somebody who's Asian and maybe has their hair dyed green or whatever with a load of death threats from the right, but have them as exactly the same text, and then go round police forces in the UK. I mean, we'd have to be careful about wasting police time as a criminal offence, but it'd be interesting as an experiment just to see what level of interest that garnered. Because I would put a tenner on that you as a right winger there would be very little interest, but as a left winger, particularly somebody from an ethnic minority, there would be a great deal of interest. It'd be interesting if these University of Brighton people, sorry, University of Sussex people, were able to sort of come up with, like, I don't know how legal this is, but it'd be great if you could do it. Have, you know, set up a communist society and literally send all the same messages, and just because I bet you the police would start booting doors in.
Definitely, and I think they would. And the problem here is that they have done nothing wrong. They've gone through all the formal process that you have to go through at university to set up a society. So the only thing they've done wrong is have the wrong opinion.
But this is like a microcosm, isn't it? I mean, it's like that, you know, you wouldn't go to the BBC, you wouldn't, a lot of people wouldn't work there if you've got the wrong political views or you're the wrong religion. It's like university. And but there was a protest today. You weren't there, but have you heard about it?
So today was the Freshers' Fair. So this is kind of what the lead up to this has been. All these anti-fascist accounts saying, we're going to do this protest today to try and shut down the Reform Society. Meant to be anti-fascist.
All 6 of them.
Yeah, exactly. They all want to shut down free speech.
Yeah, so they had that protest today. I don't think it was too successful. I think there was just kind of a group of them that just stood there with, you know, their signs.
Yeah.
And there were only 2 people ended up going to the Reform Society one, because all the people that were interested before, like, I can't do this, I don't want to do this, I don't want to... Yeah, I do support you, but I don't want to be put
and
through
this is what happens, it actually causes
my opinion.
That's why you've got the saturation point now.
But I've made this point, and it doesn't necessarily apply to universities, but I can guarantee you the police will do nothing about this. You look at the attacks on Republicans overseas, UK, Republicans abroad, UK, it's aggravated trespass. And that is to say that if you trespass onto a property for the purposes of disrupting the legal activity that takes place there, that is a crime. The police will never investigate it. Never investigate it.
So I think the university made it that the media couldn't actually go into the fair. They could only go outside to where the protests were, because it would just be too much to handle. And also, if they started letting people who aren't students into the fair, you then get all of the anti-fascist, close down the Reform Society come in as well, and it would just be so overwhelming. But I mean, fair play to these people who have decided they're going to set up this society. And those clips that we just watched, they've put themselves on camera. That's a risk to them, and they've still done it because they believe in it. And it's so sad that I had to say, I said to them, I was like, you're actually really brave for actually going to set up this
what we'll do. I'll tell you what we'll do. I don't know if Asher's up for it, but I certainly...
I'm always up for it, mate.
I certainly, even if there's only 3 or 4 people there, I will do their first pub event. I will be the speaker. I will go down, and even if there's only 4 of them there, we'll go and do it.
You just said they look like they'd be good to go down the pub with.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
I'm happy. I'm happy.
I'll do a ventriloquist show. I can do all kinds of things.
So I'll tell you what I've just heard in my ear. Doesn't matter how many people turn up, because we know they've been bullied. We're going to send down the camera crew. Can you organise the Andre Walker speaker meeting at the University of Sussex? Andre and Ash.
Sure, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see.
Look, even if there's only 2 people there, let's do it anyway. No. In fact, screw it. Even if there's 1 person, even if only one.
I've done gigs like that where we were the only ones there. I mean, it is disheartening.
I'll tell you why. Because I think we should put our money where our mouth is. Our viewers and our listeners would want us to go and support this, not because they're necessarily Reform supporters, but because let me tell you one thing that I will personally add to the death threats. If they go, Andre and Ash are not big enough, right, then they can F right off, right? But we should say we're going to travel up at our own expense, we're going to film it, and we're going to do their first event.
Well, I definitely do think that they need support, because this has just been really overwhelming for them, which you could probably see with thousands of thousands. As he said, just woke up one day, looked at the post, there's thousands of these comments. And you have to give it to these students, these left-wing students, they're really good at organising.
There they are, yeah.
They're so good at organising, and I think that's something that right-wingers aren't as good at.
Have you got the Free Speech Union involved? Because obviously they were campaigning for this law that then got turned down, didn't it? And that would have affected that. Did you know the law that they cancelled on the day they came in?
So the free speech on campus has been passed in legislation, but it has no commencement.
So this is what one of the students said. This is what one of the students said. He said, I said, do you think that the response from the university has been sufficient enough? And he said that, not really, because they've put out this kind of statement saying we commit to free speech and they can have the society, but they've only done it because by law they have to, and they don't feel like they really have the protection there. And when all these left-wing students go on and on about diversity, they don't believe in political diversity.
No, they don't.
They don't really believe in that. They are the fascists. Anyway, 0344 499 1000. Ellie's staying with us this whole hour, so give us a ring. If you're a student, you can ring in confidence, you know, give a fake name. 0344 499 1000. And you can leave us a WhatsApp message if you're scared. We'll be back in a sec.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould. We got our guest co-host is Ellie Hodges, who's given us the exclusive on this interview about the University of Sussex. And obviously you can watch the full videos at Ellie Hodges' newly launched YouTube channel. Can you give us a sense of what it's like being a young person supporting reform? I mean, obviously, in your own home, it's okay. But what about out and about, pubs, bars, nightclubs, university?
I think that sometimes I don't realise that I'm being, like, not excluded, well, kind of excluded, I guess. So with new people that I meet, they'll be all nice to your face, and then behind your back they'll go, oh, look at what Ellie's doing. Have you heard this? Have you heard that? Oh, do you know that Ellie supports this? And a lot of the time, it's not even people that are genuinely left-wing and they've thought through their political philosophy.
Yeah.
No, these are just people that scroll through TikTok and see short clips from, like, Zach Polanski clubbing and then decide, oh, I'm going to be,
But they
you know,
think-
Zach
but
Polanski
It's the new
fan.
fashion, isn't it?
But
Like
it's
being
just-
a
yeah.
gothic, and now you've got to be a left wing.
But they've been told that people like you, people like me, people like Asher, are vehement racists who
This is the problem,
who willfully, who know that global warming is going to destroy the world, but are doing it anyway. You know, who want to, who know that the Palestinians are completely in the right. They know that all Jews are evil, but nonetheless are trying to cover up for the IDF murdering people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've been
You're
told
a
this-
Nazi now. I mean, look at Minnesota. That's sort of what basically, if you don't agree with them, you're Nazis. Look at what they're doing with ICE.
But the reason
Yeah.
a lot of people think like this, especially people my age, is because like through education they've just had this rammed down their throats all
And
the
social
time.
media.
And a lot of the time they don't even realise
Yeah.
that they're being fed political information.
But why do
because
you
they
know
disguise
that?
it as factual.
But why do they not? Are they that much sheeple? You know what I mean?
Well,
Why
I think it's because if you're not actually interested in politics and you don't really care, and you have to sit for an assembly which is about, you know, white privilege, for example, you'll still take it
Did
in.
that
because
actually
you have
happen
to sit
to you?
Yes. I've
Explain
had
it. So I know
before.
this is going to sound
Yeah,
stupid,
yeah.
but explain in assembly about white privilege, because we've never seen it, and most of our viewers and listeners are not as young as you. So go
Yeah,
on.
so I remember this maybe, I can't remember how many years ago this was, but sat down and in assembly you have to go to, so it's compulsory, you have to go to assembly. And it was all about white privilege, so he went through the concepts of micro-racism.
Right, which is what?
So the one example this teacher gave, which I thought, this is just absolutely ridiculous. As soon as she started speaking, I thought, oh, she's actually quite articulate. She's a really good speaker. And then she said, I always get told that I'm really articulate, but you know why? It's only because, like, I'm mixed race. That's why. It's micro-racism. It's you're articulate for, you know, a mixed race woman, not because you're
Which is her perception.
You should have put your hand up and said, well, I thought you were shit. Well, you should have done, to see what she said.
But I spoke to students...
Should have said that was racist as well, you're only saying that, you know what I mean?
But I remember when this happened and I spoke to some students that were black and from they were mixed race or just an ethnic minority, and they said, I feel like they're making an issue out of something that isn't even there, and I feel like now I'm walking around looking for someone to be racist to me when I was never doing that before.
But
But
that is the theory that Asher and I put forward on this channel and on this show on multiple occasions, where we've said that Karl Marx believed in class struggle, and now that class struggle has failed, the aim is now to create a racial struggle in this country. The aim is to turn people against each other. I think
that all of this DEI stuff, everything from education to workplaces, they just overcomplicate things so much. You don't need to be teaching all of these different concepts. Just say to people that, okay, we treat everyone the same, we take a colourblind approach. I don't care if you're black, white, you know, straight, gay, whatever you are, don't care. We'll just judge people based on their character, based on who they are as a person. Simple. It's so easy. Just say that.
But the irony is,
and
you
most
know,
people do that anyway.
She's saying that to you, and people who say you're racist if you don't want mass immigration, if they say you're racist, it's because you're white. So it's actually, ironically, they're being racist because they're saying, oh, well, you're white and you're saying I'm articulate. You're racist. You know what I mean?
It's just teaching that, you know, white kids are the oppressors and black kids are the victims. And I hate that.
And that's how they do it.
I think that's, but isn't that, if you were a dastardly political operative, that has two advantages. Number one, it gives white people an original sin. That is to say that there is something you can never get over. You are a white person, therefore you're evil. So that creates resentment. But also, if you say that black people are automatically going to fail in life, that creates resentment as well. And that will create the war that's necessary. Because look, I always say, when the Soviet Union fell, which is very much before your time, nobody could see what was going on in Ceausescu's Romania and go, oh, capitalism and communism are equal but different. It was demonstrably a dump. Demonstrably. And you could see the way that, you know, the feared Soviet army, you know, their equipment was rusting to bits because they couldn't afford lubrication oil and all this sort of stuff.
And yet the leaders live in splendour. Ceausescu lived in the second biggest building in the world.
And then, so what they now say is, well, it's not that that capitalism is better than socialism. It's just because of slavery and racism. That's why the West is so rich. Everywhere would be a dump like Somalia if it wasn't for racism.
I just think that all of these concepts and all these trying to push different ideas and different, you know, concepts, and it's all ideological. It just needs to stop because it's making the situation worse, and a lot of the time it's creating problems, especially in education, that aren't even there.
Well, I don't think it's even ideological. I think a lot of it, like you said, is a fashion.
Well, we are getting students getting in touch, and if you do want to call 03444991000, I have to say to you, I should have offered it earlier, and I stand by it. You are welcome to come in with a fake name or even a fake university, because we don't really mind.
Most of them are anyway these days.
Maybe not a fake university, but what you are able to say is, at my university X happens, because it doesn't really matter which one it is. But I will say, Jen has been in touch saying, I love this. I lived in a student house with socialist workers and was constantly mocked for being a Tory. One day I got fed up with them redistributing my food, which obviously they believed they had the right to because they believed it was a commune. And so I hid an extremely expensive bottle of red wine, and the poo soon hit the fan. They all came from rich families, so I was the only one who ever paid the rent and bills on. But I was the only one who ever paid the rent and bills on time. Yes, I have to say to you, I went to, when I ran for president of the National Union of Students, someone actually poisoned me. I'm not joking. Yeah, someone actually poisoned me.
I feel like you need to explain that more.
Yeah, so what happened was, no, it wasn't the year I was poisoned. So
Novichok.
I made a speech, I made a speech at the NUS conference, and basically I opposed student development.
Oh, that'll do it.
And I did my socialist worker voice, you know, that sort of mockney, Keith from the Prodigy type thing. And I stood up and I made a speech as if I was a communist, and they're all cheering along. We need students to protest. We need students through sit-ins, walkouts, demonstrations. And then when I told them I took the mic, some people cheered, many people did not cheer. They got very, very upset. And in the pub later on, somebody gave me a beer that was poisoned, and I was in a really bad way.
What was in it?
I was virtually hospitalised. I don't know what was in it. The following year, they cancelled my hotel accommodation, and then they put me in with this really fat communist. And I said, listen, in addition to the burping and farting, you'll redistribute my wealth. I'm not having you anywhere near me. Loads of things happened. I used to have to, so when I went to NUS conference, I used to have guards with me.
Do you think this isn't anything
actually
new then, and this has always happened?
No, it's a lot worse.
It is, yeah, it is new. It wasn't
It's worse.
Do you think it's more kind of coordinated as well?
Yes.
It's not just one individual attacking another.
so
When
it's
I was
very
at Manchester, in 1990, there was always these socialist workers outside the union, but there was about 10 of them, and now they're the mainstream, aren't they? That's the thing.
I remember when I used to be the president of the, was I the president? Yes, I think I was president or vice president of the Greater Manchester Young Conservatives. And they had the Al Mahadjaroon, you know, those guys who supported the World Trade Centre attack. And I walked past them on Oxford Road, just outside, and they had this a towering day in history with pictures of the World Trade Centre attack. And I went, hey, listen, lads, if I were you, I'd take your trestle table and bugger off. And they went, you can't tell us what to do. You know, the way they go on. And I went, I said...
Were they Welsh?
Yeah, we'll not do the voice again, actually. But I said, no, it doesn't bother me whether you stay here. It's just the Young Conservatives have all been in the pub all afternoon. There's about 40 of them coming this way, and they're beard up. I will tell you, Al Mahadjaroon didn't run when I warned them. I'll tell you, they ran. They ran pretty quickly. But the sad thing was, Manchester University, or what happened in Manchester, was a blueprint for what was going to happen in future. Basically, the hard left, the jihadis, the terrorists, all became mates and just began literally threatening people off campus. There's not many Jews go to Manchester University now. Certainly nobody in school camp's going to go.
It used to be full up of them, didn't it?
Well, you stayed in the student hall of residence.
That's gone now.
That's long gone.
I think it's actually a mosque now.
Yeah, it's all just...
We used to call it was called Hillel House, but we nicked it Halal House, which I didn't like very much.
Anyway, a little... we had the leader of Al Mahadjaroon on once, Sheikh Omar Bakri Mohammed, and when he went to Lebanon, Theresa May wouldn't let him back, so he lost all his social benefits, his house, his granite kitchen, worktop. Anyway, 0344 499 1000. We've got Ellie Hodges here. We're talking all about what her reporting.
Tell students to definitely message in as well.
Well, with that in mind, we've had a lady called Claire get in touch. I study at Glasgow University, and they can't shut up about white privilege. Next time it happens, and we're walking out of a protest, I'll capture it.
Yes.
It's a horrible place, universities these days.
Well, remember Hamza Yusuf, you know.
My email is in my Twitter account. Message me about that as well if there's anyone has any stories like this, because they need to be known. And I understand that as a student, you don't
How much in danger are you? I'll tell you what, let's answer that question after the
break. We'll think about it and we'll find out how much danger Ellie is in after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
I just want to say one thing before we go any further. This is a late show with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Ellie Hodges. All three of us, in this studio are, whether we call ourselves political commentators, presenters or not, we're employed by a journalistic outfit. That is the Wireless Group, which is a division of News UK. And so we have journalistic standards. I just want to be very clear with you. The journalist that picks up the phone, if you phone up, is not allowed to give away your details unless you give permission to that person. Those are the professional standards that everybody at The Sun, everybody at The Times, everybody at Talk Sport, everyone at Talk TV will all conform to. I just want to say to the many, many young people that are getting in touch with the show to say that they are students and they support what Ellie's doing, but are nervous about coming on. We will respect your anonymity if you want to come on. Now, if you believe that somebody will recognise you just from your accent, believe me.
Even if you just send a message explaining, you know,
yeah,
that's...
absolutely. But Ellie, this is a really troubling thing and actually a really depressing thing because we are getting invaded with phone calls by people saying that they would love to come on to support you but don't feel brave enough to do it. It really, really worries me that that's our education system.
It's so worrying.
And by the way, I'm not being critical of the individuals.
Yeah, no, I completely understand why they're having that view and why they don't feel comfortable in coming on, because as we've seen from this story, these left-wing students are crazy. The certain group of them, I'm not just going to say everyone that's left-wing is crazy. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying that these groups that are, you know, anti-fascists and organising these mass protests, sending death threats, it's serious. It's serious.
Well, are we not turning round to people now and saying, whilst I have no moral problem with this, you're just mentally ill? So as an example, I gave the example of Greta Thunberg. If my daughter, I don't have a daughter, but if I had one, if my daughter came to me and said, Dad, I'm afraid that the planes flying over my school are gassing me, and I can't go into school or speak until the planes are banned, I would not run a campaign to ban the planes. Right? Now, the Labour and Trade Union movement, I want to be clear, because we've got a lot of supporters of the old Labour and Trade Union movement, the Clem Attlee type people, the Stephen Pound type people. Let me tell you, the Labour and Trade Union movement has done a great deal for this country and our society, and to compare them to these people. Now, Ellie, this is the moment when we worry about the earpiece. Do you have an earpiece that's working?
Yes.
Okay. Why don't you put it in your ear? Why don't you just do that? Yeah.
I'm actually have to hold it.
Why don't you do Live Aid type thing?
Yeah,
just put it in your ear. Okay, so Phil in Worthing wants to have a word with you. Phil, you are through to Ellie.
You know me, Andre. I'd love to have a word with you, but it's Ash I want to have a word with tonight.
Yeah. What is it, Phil?
I want to talk about Aston Villa, Ash.
Oh, well, we're talking to Ellie. Have you not been listening?
For this, you know?
I mean, I can do Talk Sport better than Talk Sport.
I know that, but listen, Ash.
Ellie, what's your view on Villa today coming back winning 3-2 against
I couldn't care
Salzburg?
less.
You don't care?
Ash.
Yeah?
Ash, you're an icon. You're an icon of broadcasting, and Andre, you're an icon of broadcasting. But that lady you're looking after tonight, we must look after her. What a wonderful example of how to look after people. What a wonderful thing you two are doing tonight. God bless you both.
We are wonderful, aren't we?
Thank you.
Have you got a
very
message for Ellie then? What would you like to say to Ellie? She's right here listening to you.
Well, I'm going to say, Ellie, Ash is a lovely, brummy man. He's
That's got no relevance.
I'm
an icon.
No. He's suffered so many arseholes having a go at him and being wankers.
I didn't know that.
Lovely man.
That'll never go away, though. But what have young people lost the plot?
No, there's no relevance to this. Right, no, Stop, everyone. Right. What we thought was going to happen was that people were going to phone in with supportive messages for what Ellie was doing on campus. Usher's a great player.
I mean, this is brilliant. Carry on. What do you think of me? I'm an icon of...
The best programme on TV. The best programme on TV.
Have you got a message for Ellie, like a young person?
Yeah,
You've got many good young...
Have a lovely afternoon. God bless you.
No, that's not...
It's the evening, Phil. It's evening.
It's got no relevance.
It's nearly 11 o'clock.
I know that. But Ash, you know as well I'm saying... You're a nice man, you're a gentleman. And also, Andre, what a wonderful show.
Are you drunk?
You would never find a better show on TV than this.
Thanks, Phil.
Oh, I don't know. There was some great stuff before we went YouTube only.
I love Phil.
By the way,
brilliant.
I just want to say to you, I discovered this in my locker from ages ago. This is non-alcoholic beer.
Why are you covering it?
What is? I don't want to show the brand. But there's no point in this. But I'll try it anyway. Well, that's a waste of time.
No, it doesn't seem any different. Daniel in Shropshire.
Hello, guys.
Dan.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can.
Yeah, man.
Hello. Yeah, I think the problem with the left is ever since the introduction of extremism legislation and the Terrorism Act of 2000, ever since then there's only ever been classifications for far-right extremism and Islamist extremism. There has never been any real political discussion or definition of far-left extremism.
That's true. There's no far left on the prevent list, are there? Maybe there should be.
This is the problem. You can be as extreme left as you like. You can be a communist, a Maoist, a Stalinist. Doesn't matter. Even though these ideologies have killed between 94 and 110 million people throughout in the past 100 years, you're allowed to support these ideologies. And I really hope that reform commit to bringing in a legal definition of far-left extremism.
Daniel, can I ask you this question? Asher and I have thought about why it is that, look, I mean, this whole far left versus far right, as far as I'm concerned, it's authoritarian, big government versus small government, individual people. There are people that believe in government, there are people who believe in family and community. I'm a family and community person. For me, Hitler and Stalin, two cheeks of the same backside, doesn't bother me. But it is fair to say that because Hitler is officially far right, we think, our theory, and I don't know what Ellie thinks, I don't know what you think, Daniel, our theory is that the mechanisation of the Holocaust was such that it has made it completely impossible to say Stalin was as bad. Now,
also the racial element.
Yeah. Now the reality is.
I'll tell you what caused it.
Yeah, go on.
I'll tell you what caused it. The problem is because Russia and Stalin were on the Allied side during World War II.
Yeah.
Yes, they were. Even Churchill said that it was.
Sorry, they were on the Allied side after 1941. Let's just be clear. For the first couple of years, they weren't.
You are correct. Yeah, but you know, this is the problem. It was after that, even though we went through the Cold War, because they were on our side, they've always had a sort of, you know, a better the devil you know.
So
like the old Uncle Joe thing.
So Ellie, let me throw this at you then. I mean, look, what Daniel says is right. I used to be a member of a Facebook group called Socialism Only Killed 100 Million People, let's have another go, right? But why is it that nobody... I mean, he's got his theory, which is to do with supporting us for part of the Second World War. Why is it that you can't turn around and go, the Holocaust was awful, and it was awful, but at the end of the day, the Soviet Union killed far more than 6 million people. They didn't do it in the same mechanised way, but they worked them to death. Sorry, that was to Ellie. That was to Ellie.
I don't think I've ever really thought of that, but I do think that you see a lot of people that will openly identify as communists, and that's fine. They just go around saying.
But nobody ever says I'm a Nazi.
Yeah, imagine if you said that. Obviously that's outrageous. But people can go on national television and say they're a communist.
I think it's because during the Cold War it was seen as like weirder capitalism there, you know, the authoritarian, and we're sort of, you know, enemies, but sort of frenemies. We see it as whereas Nazism and all that was a racial element.
If you're an average, it is an awful thing to say, and please do not take this in the wrong way. It's an awful thing to say that as an ordinary German or as an ordinary Russian, an ordinary German was better off under the Nazis than an ordinary Russian was under the Soviet Union. That is simply a fact. And so for me, when they go, oh, well, Nazism's worse than communism, you go, is it? Is it really? I mean, I get the mechanisation of the gas chambers, but let's be clear, right? The Soviet Union raped 7 million German women when they invaded, right? You know, you've got all sorts of genocides, the eradication of the Polish elite, the dissolution of the kulaks, the what was it, the famine in Ukraine, where they were eating each other's children because they were that desperate for food, all under the Soviet Union. Now, look, at the end of the day, the mechanisation of the Holocaust can never be defeated. But I mean, when people walk around as if to say, "Oh, I'm literally a communist," you go, "Well, I mean, it's not great, is it? It's like saying, "Oh, well, you know what? I'm only a rapist. I'm not a rapist and a murderer." I mean, it's not. You wouldn't. I'm literally a rapist, would you?
And you get all of these students as well that are at these campuses, and the ones that are protesting, they're holding kind of communist signs, very openly. And you have to think, why do they think like that? Is it the lecturers that are?
Well, he used to have Che Guevara posters in our day, you know what I mean, on the wall, who was equally a murderer.
But if you've ever met anybody from the former Soviet Union, none of them, apart from Vladimir Putin, who, by the way, only supported the Soviet Union for nationalistic reasons, none of them said that system was good. None of them said that the market economy is worse. No, none of them believe that. I mean, I've seen footage, admittedly not much, but you see footage of somebody from Venezuela going, Nicolas Maduro is not the legitimate president of Venezuela. Correct. He killed people in Parliament. Correct. He created his own assembly to certify his election. Correct. He bullied the Supreme Court and filled it. Correct. Ran an illegal narco gang. Correct. Donald Trump invaded Venezuela. He did, or you think, oh, shut up.
I think the Russians,
that was ridiculous. I remember scrolling through and people were making on TikTok and people making all these like dramatic edits saying, Trump's a monster, he's illegally invaded, blah, blah, blah.
I mean, he literally didn't invade.
And whilst the Venezuelans were literally celebrating as well.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
but the
ridiculous.
Russians seem to like an author. They want another style, and they seem to like being ruled by an iron fist. Anyway, Ellie Hodges is here. Give us a ring if you're a student. You don't have to give your real name. You can put on a funny voice.
No, you can't put on a funny voice.
Coming next, we're going to talk about the convicted terrorist is going to be standing for local election.
By the way, what we wanted to do was we wanted to put a voice change on our system, but contrary to the claims of some trans activists, we don't have that capability.
Yeah,
oh, that's a reference to an old one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Back in the mo.
Yeah, back in the mo.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Do you know what? In this show, I've got a producer who's from Birmingham, and my co-host and partner in crime is from Birmingham as well. And I have to say, the amount of time I spend listening to them lamenting the fall in a city that they were once proud of, I think is an incredibly sad thing. And the fact that they've got away from the place on the basis that it is gone to wreck and ruin. Well, by the way, I take no pleasure in this next story. I think we have fallen to a new low, haven't we, in Birmingham? Because Shahid Butt is running for Sparkhill Ward in Birmingham City Council elections in May 2026. He was convicted of being a terrorist in Yemen. He was attempting to blow up the British consulate, attempting to blow up an Anglican church, attempting to blow up a Swiss hotel. He is now likely to be elected on a pro-Gaza, pro-jihadi ticket for Sparkhill. and he's a 60-year-old activist. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison. It's unclear how much of that sentence he served. Look, over to you, Asher. Sparkhill, he's going to win, isn't
he? Yeah, I would have thought so. He was sent to Yemen by Abu Hamza, friend of the show, now serving a life sentence in Supermax prison. The hook-handed and one-eyed... I shook him by the hook, by the way. The hook-handed and one-eyed British hate preacher who is now serving life sentence in the USA after being extradited. There was also hostages taken. There was 4 hostages, 3 Britons and 1 Australian, and they were killed during a rescue attempt by Yemeni forces. So, yeah, this is what he'll probably... Well, I don't know. But it's quite likely that might happen, very, very likely. And what are we doing? What are we doing in this country?
He attacked the British consulate,
and he's using the excuse of, "Oh, I was really young when he was 33." Like you're not. If you weren't like a really young boy and you were guilt tripped into doing it, you knew what you were doing there. It's ridiculous.
What has changed about Shahid Butt is he's now been told, as many of them have been told, don't admit openly what you think. Use the democratic method. We don't have to fight these people anymore. The number of people coming over to the UK now from the Islamic world is such that we will win anyway.
It's called taqiyya. You can lie to get, the bigger picture. Same as the left wing believe that.
You have to think what's wrong with our system, though. When you can, if you've committed fraud, you cannot run for election at all. But if you've committed terrorism and you've been involved in terrorism, that's fine.
Well, should foreign-born people... I don't think foreign-born people should come here and be able to govern over us. I mean, most countries, that's... In Pakistan, you have to be born in Pakistan. In the States, you have to be born in America to be president. If you hold a political position, you shouldn't really accept foreigners to this country who then say, right, we're going to rule over you and tell you, have authority over you. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of a natural thing that you should be British.
Well, I remember watching BBC London. By the way, you should watch BBC London if you want to know what the political left are interested in doing, particularly BBC London rather than the rest of the region. And they're going, these London businessmen are concerned about Brexit. Mr. Papadopoulos. I thought, oh, come on. Mr. Papadopoulos. I mean, his name was actually Mr. Papadopoulos. It wasn't even a Mickey take, right? But Asher's absolutely right. What Shahid Butt has done is come here in order to make Britain an Islamic caliphate. That is what he's doing. Now, as far as I'm concerned, we should have I told you about Shamima's law? We should do this in support of Shamima Begum. We should have your right to defect. Shahid Butt should have been told, you are a Houthi in Yemen, we're going to give you the right to stay there, but you have to surrender your passport to go over. He should face no consequence for what he's done. He should have the right to defect. And I argue, in a multicultural society, your right to defect is absolutely vital.
I think this will be really interesting, though, as an election, to see who people vote for. Because if people actually vote for this guy, it's insane. It's just like unbelievable.
But if I walked in,
but they probably will win. You know,
you like it or not. But if I walked into some of these areas in Britain, what I call the Islamic tribal areas, and I said I fought jihad in Yemen, I've attacked the British in Yemen. If you vote for me, not one single Jew will set foot onto this territory. I'd win.
So
anti-Semitism and terrorism is a vote winner.
He's saying that because this has happened and now he's come through from it and he now does work being anti-extremism and talking to Muslims to not be extremists. That's his view.
That's what he's saying. You go to Friday prayers when he makes his speech in Urdu, and you hear what he says then.
I feel like if you can be involved in terrorism, you're a type of person that should not be elected.
But even if it was, I mean, I'm not being funny, but if it was terrorism against somebody that Britain doesn't like, I mean, it was against the British consulate and the Anglican Church.
I just think it's crazy that...
I mean, we've all seen the Archbishop of Canterbury and been tempted by the idea of committing an atrocity against the Anglican Church. But he's actually done it. That was a joke, by the way.
Mohsen was from Sparkhill, by the way, who I went to school with, and he had a Muslim Islamic bookshop in Sparkhill. And he was obviously the guy who was in Guantanamo Bay, but then got released.
Mozambique, completely innocent. Do you know what I said to Mozambique once? I said, it's not that you're not a terrorist, it's that you're just not a very good terrorist. You're really crap at it, you should find something better that you can do. He didn't like that very much.
But he wasn't convicted of that, was he, in the end?
No, he wasn't. The court accepted that he was going through Tora Bora with a machine gun because he was trying to drive home because he couldn't afford the airfare. They caught it. Sorry,
We've all done it.
We've all done it. Yeah. We've all decided during a war in Afghanistan between the Americans and the Al Qaeda, what you do is get a gun, go through Tora Bora to drive home because you didn't want to fly Pakistan Airways. Mind you, we've all seen the Pakistan Airways overburdened with the amount of luggage that they take, so maybe it isn't safe to fly Pakistan. I don't know.
They want a new airport, don't they?
I don't know. Oh, they want the new airport. Yeah. So look, you've got a couple of minutes left, Ellie, before we go. What next for you in terms of your YouTube channel? What next for you in terms of supporting students?
I think I definitely want to continue doing things like I've done with Sussex University because I find it so interesting, and I think that because I'm younger as well, a lot of the students feel more comfortable talking to me about it as well.
I mean, most of the young lads will be happy talking to you, won't they? They'll go, she's a bit all right.
But I think that after I've done this as well, my emails have been flooded with students, not just from Sussex, but from other universities saying, hi Ellie, this is happening. I just thought I'd let you know if you want to post about it because I can't post about it. So I think that's what I'll continue to do. If anyone's watching that's a student, please email me with anything that you think is, you want to be shared.
What's your email then?
It's elliehodges@media.com.
Right, and YouTube's Ellie Hodges, is it?
Yes.
But what happens? What happens in a year's time when you're still alive? What happens in a year's time? What happens in a year's time when all of these death threats come to nothing? Do you think that more students will go, well, actually, she's all right, I'm just going to follow what she does?
Maybe, yes. And I think
nice
things are changing. They've got to, haven't they?
I think things definitely are changing, and you are getting a lot more vocal right-wing younger people, but you're also getting a lot more vocal Green people as well. And I haven't really met anyone that's, a young Tory or a young Labour supporter. They're either Green or Reform, and there's no in the middle. But I think people should stand by what they believe in, just like these boys have done at the Reform Society in Sussex, because they've been flooded with support from what they've done. And I know it can feel really isolating at university when you feel like your views are really... you're in a minority.
No, you're going to have no friends, you're never going to pull a bird, you can't go to the student union. I get that. I get that.
No,
I mean, it didn't happen to me, obviously.
Yeah, no, I do get that, but I think that people should be courageous and they should say what they believe in and stand by it, because it will
but when
pay
you
off
say courageous, here's one slight criticism, and we are out of time. Out of time. The one issue is, actually, you just want to go and do university. You don't want to fight a big pitched battle, but that's the only way we're going to save the country.
Well, I think if I keep exposing these universities,
damn right.
keep doing it, I think Sussex University will hopefully think twice about doing this again.
Let's go down, let's have an event at Sussex University, and you know what? We'll invite everybody else from Sussex. I'll say on my YouTube channel, you can all come down. You all come down. There'll be 3 students and 400 other people. And what we'll do is I'll bring my bodyguard so I don't injure anyone during the course of the evening.
Anyway, look, 03414991000. Thanks, Ellie. We've got Pete Barnes on next, and Dr. Callum Miller, who's a social commentator, being banned from Facebook.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Pete Barnes. Asher, why don't we just go to the front page of The Sun?
The Sun, and the lead story, gang raids Maya and Rubin's £4 million pad Love Island host, Maya Jama, and a footballer boyfriend, Rubin Diaz, has been left heartbroken after an away day gang ransacked their home, the £4 million prize draw mansion in Cheshire was targeted by, so they won it in a prize draw. He's a footballer. My 31 was filming, so they knew they were away. It's that typical thing. They know the rich footballers away.
So just to be clear,
and they break into
their £4 million Omaze prize draw mansion. That raises more questions than it answers.
Well, they entered the maybe bought loads of tickets. It does, and also, yeah.
Does it not mean that it's a prize as in the prize draw mansion? Yeah.
So
how?
I presumed it meant that it was like something. It was like
no, it's an Omaze break-in.
So he won it in a competition, did he?
That's weird.
Or did he buy it from somebody who won it in the competition?
I think you're right. This has raised more questions, and I'm now actually genuinely interested in this story.
Does anyone know whether Maya? No, I'll tell you what. Let's ask AI.
Yeah.
Right, here we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's solved
because this is just going to be. This is just going to because I've got nothing for you here. Yeah. Here we go. Did Maya Jama win her house in an Omaze competition? What is the connection? Right, give it a minute just to percolate through it. It's just going to go through.
Sucking the data.
And have a look. Did she win it? No, she didn't win it. It was originally won by someone else. Their 4-bedroom, 6,300 square foot mansion in Audley, Cheshire is worth about £4 million. It was offered as a prize in Omaze. The house was won by Emily Ward in 2025, a mum from Devon who got it with a £25 ticket, plus she got £250,000 in cash. After she won the property, it was put up for rent. For $20,000 a month. They have been renting it. Oh, I'll tell you what, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
20 grand a month. Yeah, 240,000.
Up north, they could buy it. I mean,
you could buy the north.
Yeah, I mean, amazing.
Hey, I'll tell you what, if you gave me $250,000 and 20 grand a month.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd be rocking and rolling, wouldn't you? Seriously.
Yeah, but you could have 4 million in one go.
Yeah, but you'd have to live in it. Anyway,
yeah.
So we haven't. So we were told at the start of this, even though this is a press preview, it is a slow news day. But it is true to say that Maya Jama didn't know who she was.
No relation of Maya Toosie, right?
Maya Jama. It's like Quasimodo and Kwasi Kwarteng, the only two men called Kwasi.
True.
But anyway, Modo and Kwarteng. Anyway, we are going to break off the press preview from that fascinating detail about the Omaze prize draw to talk to Callum Miller, Dr. Callum Miller, who has been a solid supporter of the show. He's in Santa Barbara at the moment, but he is a Christian activist and a contributor on talkTV, and he has been banned from Facebook for expressing Christian views. Callum, what's happened?
Yeah, well, I guess it was only a matter of time. I don't exactly know what happened, but that's basically part of the problem. I was on Facebook, which I don't do too much these days, but went on there. Suddenly it just said, take a photo of yourself and move your head around so it could take some biometrics so we could verify you. And then I get some emails saying, we've suspended your account, you've appealed by doing this photo thing, and we've rejected your appeal, so you're permanently banned and there's no more appeal.
Maybe they didn't like your biometrics.
It might have been an ugliness test, which I maybe passed.
But why do you think it was? Because of your views, basically? Is that what it is?
Well, it's difficult to say. The last thing I posted was women cannot be bishops, just on a video of the new, the new Archbishop of Canterbury being installed. It could have been that, but this is part of the problem, is that they don't tell you. They just say you violated community standards. And this is one of the more sinister issues around freedom of speech, which is that if they actually said this is acceptable speech, this is not, it would be bad.
The big problem is, we will have a lot of people, and I think instinctively probably you and I are on this category, where you would say, well, it's their business, they can allow whichever customers they want. The only problem is not being able to use things like Facebook, not being able to use things like Twitter, not being able to use things like WhatsApp, not being able to use things like YouTube is like being told, well, you are allowed to travel anywhere you want in the country, but you're no longer allowed to use a road. Do you know what I mean? They're so ubiquitous that it becomes impossible.
Well, when they've monopolized certain markets and become part of the basic infrastructure, it is really just, taking people out of society and out of the public square to a degree. And as I say, it would be bad, but slightly better if they said, here are the rules, we're not allowing these people, we are allowing these people. If you set up a shop and said, we're not allowing this kind of person, but we are allowing this kind of person, it's terrible, but it's better. Whereas if they just randomly enforce it and don't even tell you what's allowed and
very
what's not, and then
Orwellian,
just
isn't
kick you out arbitrarily, that is, I think, even more sinister.
Yeah, well, it's cancelling you, isn't it? Like you say, it's that, then it's your bank account, then it's this and that, and actually you can't function in society.
Right. I mean, who knows what could be next? And I was saying to friends earlier that I'm in a very fortunate position where I have people of influence who can raise this issue publicly. We might get through to someone at Facebook if we're lucky, and there's a decent chance of that. But for many people, they will just have this happen to them. They will have 10, 15 years of memories. They will have all their childhood friends on Facebook, and it will really take away a huge part of their life with no opportunity to change that.
And also income. If you're on YouTube or something, it can just shut your business overnight, or you're selling stuff on Amazon, or you know what I mean. It's worse than law against you, really, because it's like it really messes your life up.
I always remember Nigel Farage still doesn't have a bank account. We forget that, but he still doesn't.
He pays in Rothmans.
I didn't know that.
Snouts.
Yeah, that's striking, and it's part of this wider problem of cancel culture. The thing I was thinking is, I had kind of thought this had gone away. I thought social media censorship had sort of chilled out, that there was more of an open sphere. So to suddenly find, being right back in the middle of it again,
because
Facebook, this is a battle that's not over.
Facebook changed, didn't they? Do you remember all the techno bros or whatever they were called, and they all changed and said we're all changed? But you're right, they all say these things. It's like when Starmer comes out and says things, like, oh, we're not doing, and Rachel Reeves, we're not doing the business tax, and everyone goes, good, they're U-turning. And actually you find out, no, they're not U-turning at all. They're just tweaking nothing, really. And that's how they do it. They just lie to your face and then just carry on as normal.
It's often a PR stunt, and sometimes, and a lot of these businesses, whether it's Facebook or a bank or something else, you might actually have decent people at the top. I'm not saying that is true, but you sometimes can have good people at the top who are in favor of freedom. But then you have this middle bureaucratic layer that just exercises their own judgments on a whim, kind of regardless and without any real accountability.
Believe me, what happens here, and this company is very organised, what happens here is when somebody disagrees with what Asher and I say, they don't phone in to disagree with us. What they do is immediately a tweet to some, and they'll find some official in HR. Now, our lot are all wise to it, going, how dare you have Andre Walker saying this? That's what they all do. And actually,
I haven't sent one of them for ages.
And actually, so when you work at News UK, that's not a major problem. If you work at a normal company, and basically the chief diversity officer gets a tweet from 15 people, they'll go into the office on Monday going, oh, loads of people are worried about what Bob Jones has been saying on Twitter. Let's suspend Bob Jones. And it happens all the time.
And sometimes they make it up. We've seen cases where, I think in Ireland, there were all these reports allegedly of people harassing people outside of abortion clinics. And then we actually did a sort of request for information to the hospitals, and they said not a single person has been doing this. Yeah. And all of these complaints are actually just totally fabricated. So it's very often that happens as well.
Well, agent provocateurs, you see agent provocateurs who say, look what the far right are doing, it's just one of them. Do you know what I mean? When you see things like that all the time. I mean, I think Ilhan Omar in Minnesota, it happened actually yesterday. Someone squirted something at her, and they think it was all set up to take the news out of the fraud.
Sometimes it's a Russian bot. Sometimes it's some other bot. I remember back to was it the Euro final a few years ago where we lost on penalties, and there was this whole drama about this torrent of racist abuse at the black players who had missed penalties. Now, of course. any of that was genuine is too much. That sort of racist abuse is terrible. But it emerged that it was basically, I think, 2 people, and probably both of them bots. I don't know if any of them emerged to be real people.
But I used to get that. I used to get that in Parliament all the time, where your MP would come in and go, loads of people are worried about this subject. 3 people have written in. Well, that's
right.
Well, it's not loads, is it? Or loads of people are saying, well, that's one person. What about everybody else? But it is a concern.
It is, and this happens all the time. It happens in many different spheres, and I think one of the lessons here is we've got to be absolutely clear about how big is the problem, because it's the classic boy who cried wolf scenario. If we inflate the problem, we actually end up ignoring the problem, and that actually leaves everyone worse off, because the people who are victims of genuinely racist abuse and real abuse basically lose out on accountability or on any punishment or anything, because they're not taken seriously, because there's so much that's fabricated.
Well, I had a terrible one the other day, and I was saying this to Asher. There was on Channel 4, there was a programme which was exposing the far right and exposing racists. And I turned on, and I knew I would do this eventually. We predicted that we'd all do it eventually, but I did it. I went, I'll bet these lot are all right. You know what I mean? Because so many of my friends have been accused of being far right, so many of my friends have been accused of being racist, that you just think, oh, it's just meaningless garbage. And when I watched and saw somebody being actually racist, I was quite surprised. I thought it didn't exist. I thought it was just a smear. And it shows you, people like Hope Not Hate have so weaponised the allegation of racism and being far right that many people don't believe that there are actual racists out there anymore.
Slipping under the radar,
Absolutely, and it's amazing we don't learn from those children's stories, like the boy who cried wolf. Like, everyone knew this growing up, that if you make a big deal out of something that's not real, you don't get taken seriously, and then there's an actual wolf that comes along and ruins everything. This is one of the most early tales that we learn in England, yet we've just seemed to have totally forgotten it.
Do you think they're actually...
It's very concerning.
Do you think the reason is because they're not as scared of the wolf? They think, well, we're going to get away with this. They don't realise what is probably coming from.
Well, I don't think so, because I think a lot of these people genuinely do hate racism, even if they fabricate a lot of it themselves. I think it's more, it's really just the economy around it. There are so many grifters, there's so much money in this industry that is looking for grievances. It's basically grievance merchants that are looking for something to keep their bank accounts.
Yeah, you're right. You can't get on if you have the wrong views, and if you do have the right views, you can climb up very quickly.
Yeah, and this isn't just a problem of, lefty, woke kind of grievance merchants. This is a genuine problem that I've seen on the right, that, the crazier things you say on social media, the sort of totally kind of nutcase conspiracy theorism stuff, is the stuff that gets clicks. You can make up something that's total nonsense and get a lot of traction, whereas reasonable, measured dialogue doesn't really much at the moment, and I think it is an issue.
But what about when we get to the stage where an ordinary Christian like you is a racist, is a sexist, is a homophobe by default? That is to say that one would assume that that Facebook haven't misread your comments, nor did you get drunk and accidentally stick something on Facebook. That rarely happens, apparently. But it's an in-joke. But on a serious note, one would assume that you've said what you mean, and they genuinely look at it and in a dispassionate way say an ordinary Christian conservative is incompatible with our platform.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, as I say, I don't know for sure if that was the comment that led to my being
I bet it was.
Banned,
I bet it was. They wouldn't like that.
But if it is, Catholicism, there are a lot of Protestants that believe this, but all of Catholicism says you cannot have a woman bishop. That is over 1 billion people around the world. That is countries like the Philippines, where probably around 80, 90 million people use Facebook. And are they really saying that all of those people who hold Catholic beliefs are violating community standards and can't use it? I think that's a big threat to their business model, if so, and that needs to be brought to their attention.
Well, thanks, Dr. Callum Miller there. And Facebook is for older people now. You shouldn't be hanging around on Facebook anymore. It's finished. Get on, what is it, MySpace? Bebo or whatever. Get on your Tamagotchi. That's the best one. Anyway, thanks, Callum. Thanks for joining us, and I hope you get it back if you want it back. But I don't think Facebook's
to be.
It's going to be very important moving forward.
Anyway, we're going to go on with the papers now. We've got Pete Barnes in. It's Andre and Ash. We're going through all the papers. We've got them all here. Look at that. And we'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, it's the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Pete Barnes. Pete, what about this? The United States of America is moving even more infrastructure into the Middle East.
Yes.
So we've got 10 tanker planes and electric warfare planes. For those interested, 4 KC-46A Pegasus tankers have just left the United States of America, and there are also 6 EA-18G Growler electronic warfare planes. Basically, mid-air refuelers and battlefield surveillance.
It's
and
the
jamming,
big
signal jamming.
Yeah, it's the big, beautiful armada, as the Donald called it. Also, notice that we have moved Typhoons to Qatar, as have French and German have also moved troops into the area. This is a ratcheting up, I believe, of the situation. Not so much as an invasion or an attack. You might get maybe like a few kind of warning shots, but they are looking for the Ayatollah to walk out of Iran and hand himself over.
So explain that to us.
So basically, if you look at what Trump did with Venezuela, it was an extraction of the President Maduro and just get him out of there. Just get him out of there, and because they don't want a nation build, they want their own people to support themselves, because they've looked at Iraq and Afghanistan, and long drawn out wars don't work, particularly when that society is primed to know America and the UK as the little devil and the big devil. That's never going to work if they put boots on the ground. So what they want is to kind of have not necessarily a peaceful handover, but a kind of, we'll smuggle him out the back way if necessary.
So you're saying when you say the Ayatollah's going to leave, he's going to be kidnapped by the United States of America?
Yeah, it's a kind of leave, or we're going to drag you out. I think that is going to be the option.
Because it could be because obviously they have a serious amount of weaponry, quite powerful. They showed that they can damage Tel Aviv and Jerusalem with these powerful, fast missiles. They can overload. And I think America and us and Israel are getting all the chess pieces in order. So when they do launch it, they basically take out all the.
You are right here, because if you look at certain moves that say that Qatar is actually one of the main players in this, because they didn't like it when Iran started launching missiles at an American base based in Qatar. That changed everything in the Middle East, because it made the local
Although they weren't very keen on the Israelis, to me, though.
No, but I think it was the fact that Qatar had actually housed. Obviously, they were housing the Hamas leaders for a very long time. There was a strong connection there, and that missile kind of went, oh well, wait a minute, we were kind of partners in this. Now you're on your own, and they're looking at kind of a destabilised Russia. who have just got into it, like looking like a ceasefire is on the cards now. So they're not going to come to Iran's help. So therefore, Qatar has to pick a side, and that Gulf region has been leaning America way or Europe Western way that it has been leaning anybody else, which is the way we need them to go.
Because they had to, didn't they? I mean, Israel bombed that, tried to kill the Hamas leaders. I don't know if it was a warning or not, but basically, you know, America, they were trying to pretend they were having all the peace talks in Qatar, and obviously they're really Hamas, they're Al Jazeera, they're one-sided.
They were trying to play both sides,
and they've had a bloody nose, and they've basically, I think, been told behind the scenes, get on side. Or
so for me, this
Maduro is a nobody. The Ayatollah Khomeini is a more serious player.
Yeah, that's also right.
Could they get in and just whip him out? You know what I mean? He's in a bunker, isn't he?
Yeah. So it's the tactical difference is that I don't think there's any inside help, which does seem to be with Venezuela, because obviously I think there was a case of a guy literally kind of hopped over to America and says, "I'm going to tell you everything that you need to know." That's how they were able to get in and out so easily.
But they've got Mossad in there, haven't they?
Yeah, that's true. But I do think with this particular one, they know that the consequences of a long, drawn-out kind of nation building isn't going to work. This is the only way without
Wouldn't
mass
they just
civilians.
wouldn't they just kill kill him?
Again, you don't want it to become a rallying point of a martyr, which is the worst thing that could happen, which is probably the narrative.
They
that
did that
Iran
with
is hoping
Saddam
for.
Hussein, though, didn't
Yeah,
they?
but
They did it with a lot of them. They don't become martyrs.
But Saddam Hussein was not a religious leader.
Yeah, that's the difference. It's the religious element of it, and they don't want it to look like we're going after Islam. They want it to be we're going after this guy.
Forgive me, I don't know if you can answer this question. What the bloody hell is an Ayatollah? What is it?
I presume it's like a head imam, but again, I'm not. As far as I know, it's somewhat of a made-up title. I don't.
Right,
I'm not an expert in that particular bit.
Like where Colonel Gaddafi abolished every position more senior than Colonel.
Yeah, and then was it Idi Amin that had that really long title? Yeah. But it is interesting now because we're starting to see geopolitics move in the way that it's supposed to. In other words, it is levers, it is pressure points, it's choke points, it's trade routes. It's not words and tone and anything, which is what Europe keep pretending that it is. This is the direct application of power, and it's power that can be wielded behind the Resolute desk. And Donald Trump, I think, is doing the right thing here. I will stress that. I think this is the way to do it. But I do think a lot of it is also for containment of China, because China and Iran are actively linked, and Donald Trump will not stop till he has contained China.
As was Venezuela. He's shutting down the sort of axis, isn't it?
Yeah, it's known as the Davidson window, which is basically the theory that by 2027 the Chinese will be ready to walk into Taiwan, and they want that to stop, because once that stops, the world changes.
Can I ask you a question talking about all of this geopolitics before we go? And we are going to go through the front pages, but obviously it is interesting with this kind of breaking news. What about the Chagos Islands?
Oh, right. So
Where are we up to?
Where are we up to? Right, okay. So basically we're still trying to give them away for some reason, and the Americans seem to if you listen to the kind of establishment, they are saying like, no, it's fine, not a problem. The Trumpian kind of approach to this is literally understanding that the Chagos Islands is the strategic point for a mission launch into the South China Sea.
Yes.
It's not about the Middle East. This one's about going that way.
Yeah.
And actually, the South China Sea and that area is known as the Second Theatre. It's this idea that whilst we've got the Middle East, the next major hot point is going to be that region. If you look at the Philippines, for example, who are head of ASEAN, which is the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, they're looking to kind of lock all this down legally.
ASEAN, isn't it?
Yeah, ASEAN.
Which makes the whole Chagos even more ridiculous. It's an essential strategy.
Yes.
Strategic.
So then that really brings into question, why are they trying to do it? I think Keir Starmer thinks it's a bit of kind of decolonisation paperwork, and he doesn't really understand the future.
Does he not like the Chinese? I mean, he's disagreeing with anyone. He wants to put that super embassy stroke dungeon right in central London.
I think he's doing the stupidest thing. We're becoming what we call a hinge state. So we either go one way or we have to go the other. And we keep leaning towards China when we should be leaning towards America.
But this is the front page of the Independent with Keir Starmer meeting President Xi. We've made jokes before today about Richard Harmer, as I call him, and Jonathan Powell. I mean, this week, Jonathan Powell has been exposed by Guido Fawkes for meeting Chinese spy masters. We have made jokes, which may actually turn out to be true, that the British government's discharge of its relationship with China is so incompetent that one of them must be a Chinese spy. And now Jonathan Powell, the person who we have mocked on this show more than anybody else for being a Chinese spy, is literally meeting Chinese spy masters.
Yeah, this is the worst spy movie I've ever watched in my entire life.
Crazy.
Because, like you said, we've predicted the ending of this, because I do have to admit that there's now a stack of evidence that we have to seriously consider about, is this just a series of mass incompetence, or is there another factor? And Jonathan Powell I think, is its own case. But I think the Labour Party...
we don't want to defame the man, but I think if Jonathan Powell was say, I don't know what Jonathan Powell would say if he was sitting here. He's the National Security Advisor, but it would have to be, I genuinely don't think China is a risk. Because when you knife, technical term, not literal, when you knife those spy cases, when you allow the Chinese embassy to envelop the telephone exchange in Wapping, when you fight to give away the Chagos Islands, when you allow Chinese dissidents to have bounties on their heads, when you allow the British diplomatic cables to go through Chinese-owned cables, you must think that China is of no risk whatsoever, or you're a Chinese spy.
Yes, and if you think it is of no risk ever, then you shouldn't be National Security Advisor. Well, that's the choice.
The security people,
right.
They're saying this should definitely not go ahead. The FBI, MI6 said MI5, and yet it's not for Starmer to decide.
We have to be careful here, because MI5 and MI6 has said the problem can be contained, and that is not the same as saying there isn't a problem. It's one of those things. It shouldn't go ahead, but in a certain way. But it is interesting. I think that's a really, really good argument to make. Is that you either don't think they're a threat or you shouldn't have the job. But again, I look at certain other decisions that people don't think are linked to China. But I look at our opposition to the acquisition of Greenland by America as a prime example of this, because of the advantage it would give to China and our kind of random opposition to it, despite the fact that we fall under what's known as GIUC, which is Greenland, Iceland, and the UK strategic area, and it has been in place since the Second World War. We just suddenly don't seem to care about it anymore. That doesn't make any sense.
It's remarkable the way that Jonathan Powell, as National Security, and we've made jokes about him, and if he ever watches this, he's seen me make jokes about him, but every time there is an opportunity for Britain to work against its national interests in the interests of communist China, Jonathan Powell supports communist China. Now, for whatever reason.
If any other situation, you would call it institutional bias. All the mistakes trend in one direction, so therefore you have a bias towards it. It's either a blind spot.
Rayner did, Lammy did, they all did. It's all very odd,
isn't it? You could argue it, if you wanted to be fair, that we are so indebted to China we don't have much of a choice in the manoeuvrability.
After COVID, they are indebted to us by about half a trillion.
After COVID, what we should have done, the world should have got together and put tariffs on China.
To pay for it. I mean, by the way, what we are saying is that what Keir Starmer has gone to China and done, having given away or attempted to give away the strategically important Chagos Islands to make the invasion of Taiwan possible. Let's not go through the full list. I gave it a couple of minutes ago. What do we get in exchange? A reduction in whiskey tariffs, and you're no longer going to need a visa to go and visit China. I mean, a lot of these visas. You don't visa-free access. It's not that difficult. You just go to the embassy.
It's not even difficult. It's not even specific for financiers or for business-related activity. What I think has actually happened in this China trip is this is China humiliating Starmer.
I think so.
Because basically, where's my island, the Chagos Islands, and how dare you hold up my embassy? Don't you think you could do what you want?
They turn the water off at our embassy. And don't you think it could be? Because he's very thin-skinned, you see Twitter, they've been taking down, Starmer in a bikini and stuff like that. He's very thin-skinned, and you think he was very humiliated when he went to shake his hand and Trump just turned his back on him. Do you think this is having a go at Trump, going, look, I'm now mates with your mortal enemy?
No, I actually think this is actually putting Starmer firmly in his place, saying, you think you can walk around the world stage, we own you, because that's what Starmer's doing.
No, but he thinks, look, I'm on the world stage, look,
But then what China has done is saying, no, you're not. You're on our stage, not yours.
But I think that's absolutely right. I think that this visit to China, I'm with Pete. I think this visit to China is a huge and calculated insult to Keir Starmer,
100%.
but he doesn't understand it's an insult.
Yes, because if you think about it, look at this, 400 business people we took with us to that meeting. That was a huge moment for for Starmer to have what they were calling Golden Era 2.0, which is this reset, this massive economic opportunity. He got humiliated, and the business community will now think this was like the head of HSBC and all this kind of people will think he's a joke.
What about this? What about this? And this is so transparent and may explain the behaviour of Richard Harmer and all the rest from Jonathan Powell. Let's have a second state visit for President Xi.
Yep.
I mean, I wonder why.
Yeah.
Is it just literally we hate Donald Trump that much?
Yeah.
That even a man who has put 1.5 million to 2.5 million people in concentration camps would rather suck up to him.
Yeah, it's starting to trend that way, but I also think it's the fear. Because basically we are so linked to Chinese money, they're scared of the tap turning off. And I think this is the bit that the government has got wrong, is actually why you lean into America, because you start to divest out of China and you start to invest into America. That's what we should have done. Also, we didn't do the second bit because Orange Man Bad has dominated everybody's
They don't
mind.
understand that America first benefits Britain.
They don't understand America first, because America has to be not the first nation in terms of a greed thing, it's a control and influence thing. So basically this is why Taiwan is the most important issue of international politics, because it will mean that the supply of microchips that fuel the world is no longer a neutral party. It will be controlled by China.
But what happens?
And that's what Trump is terrified of.
But what happens if Starmer and what if Jonathan Powell gets his way? And we sever links with the United States of America and become a satellite for China. Yeah. What is Britain like after that? I mean, I fear that very gravely.
It
but
is an interesting question because of one thing that keeps us in the room at the minute, and that is Trident. Yeah. The constant at-sea nuclear deterrent is the only thing that keeps Britain in the top table. It is nothing else. Yes. And actually, America is starting to break the special relationship. It's what I think the comment about the troops was, because I think he would have known, or this team will have known, you don't mess with the troops. I think that is why he did it, because he wants to break the special relationship mentality, because we think it's all prim and proper, we can do whatever we want, America's in our corner. America's got sick to death of Europe basically doing whatever it wants, then picking up the tab, and then people calling Trump all this stuff.
And I completely agree with that. Countries, and let's go out of this continent for a bit. South Korea sat there, one of the richest countries. Samsung has a bigger GDP than North Korea. Yeah. Right, and they can't even be bothered paying for their own army.
Yeah, but I think this is the understanding is that if China wanders into Taiwan, and that the compromisation of the trade routes and the supply chains, that changes everything else in the world, because if you don't know whether the lights are going to turn on, that changes your mentality and it changes strategic partnerships. Because people have to remember, the special relationship is just a partnership. It's not kind of a friendship. Because we have in the past actually, nearly gone to war with each other.
But what about the Jacob Rees-Mogg view that the special relationship is a fallacy invented by the media?
I don't think it's a fallacy. I think it's a misunderstanding.
But see, the way I look at the special relationship is we're the same tribe, right? It's like saying, great example. It's like saying Albania and Kosovo. Those are two different countries, but they are all Albanian.
Yes, I think that's a good way of looking at it. But for me, I think it's the idea that people think it's just a constant friendship and that we're always going to walk hand in hand. History has shown that even as far back as 30, 40 years ago, we were over the Falkland Islands. They didn't automatically be on our side. And look, we nearly launched on them in the Suez Crisis. This is real history, and it's actually playing out now. And I think
we didn't back them. They invaded one of the Queen's territories. Which one was it?
That'll come to me.
So we'll find out. We'll come back after the break with that information.
Across the UK on DAB+. On YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview with Andre Walker, Asher Gould and Pete Barnes. Just to remind everyone, because some people in the gallery weren't listening, right, the following, that this woman who presents Love Island rents an Omay's house.
Yes.
Some woman won it and $250,000 and rents it out for 20 grand a month to the presenter of Love Island. Anyway,
It was Grenada, wasn't it, by the way? The answer to the question, was it Grenada?
Grenada, which was invaded.
With Manchester television station.
Also, can I just say to you, there's a lovely person called Benjamin who's sending us examples of his graphic design skills. That's fine, but it's not. We can't help you in any way.
I think it's very good. Yeah.
What you need to do, I would suggest, I don't know, is to phone up. News UK switchboard during the day and say you'd like to be put through to the graphic design department, and then they'll say which company. Just make one up. Just say news. But anyway, if there's no one to be put through to, then it's not my fault. That's the best I can suggest.
By the way, if you listen, Mark Dolan's going to... Is it Mark Dolan tomorrow? Yes, Mark Dolan, 03444991000. If you're listening in the morning, he'll be coming up. Right, the Daily Mirror. I've lost my brothers. This is a terrible story. Stars anguish over double death crash. Anthony Joshua fought back tears as he paid tribute to his two pals killed in the car crash, saying that he miraculously survived. Now, what happened was his mate was driving. He was in the back seat, and because he's such a big guy, AJ... The driver said, "Can you move into the other seat because I can't see in the mirror?" And that saved his life.
Oh my God! What about Freddie Flintoff, where they said if he hadn't done that much exercise on his neck, his crash would have beheaded him.
Yeah, I think, you read these stories and you're like, how are some people walking? And how are some people still alive? It's incredible. And but I have to admit, I think the long-term mental health problems that this will bring, I think, are significant. And I wish him well, I have to admit, but my Lord, what a story.
I'll tell you the worst thing ever, which is disreputable from our business. Whenever there's a helicopter crash, everybody knows that news editors are delighted because they always go, there'll be pictures of an attractive family. Plus, they'll always be able to go, like, the founder of Bob Jones Aviation has died. And then they'll say, we'll be able to put pictures of his daughters up and all that. It'll sell loads of newspapers. That's so bad, isn't it?
No, I have
so
to admit,
bad.
Yeah, since I've started doing this kind of work, you see something horrible. It's like, oh, at least we have something to talk about. And you're like, God, we're terrible people.
By the way, somebody has said Starmer and his missus sat down for an all-you-can-eat Chinese banquet tonight.
£8 in it.
Interesting. Okay, it's a joke about prawn balls.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'll tell you what, my mate went to China. And do you know Nerd Diva? Do you remember?
Yes,
Nerd Diva.
I remember.
The MEP used to talk like that.
Yes.
Anyway, they went over to China. And he literally, they've got all these things, all this food, and he goes, says to my mate, he goes, Dan, I've eaten 5 plates. I can't believe I've had 5 plates of food. And then he heard, then he went, now for the main course. Oh my God. He said he was there for about 6 hours trying to get through this stuff.
Another Daily Mirror story, Madge in Margate. Yeah, and it looks like she's with Eddie Izzard down... Oh, no, sorry, it's Tracy Emin. Madge with Tracy Emin down to Margate.
I think he looks like the guy from Pulp. So she looks like Tracy Emin looks like the guy from Pulp. What's his name? Jarvis Cocker.
Jarvis Cocker. I see what you mean. Yeah. The I paper: UK set to deport asylum seekers to war-torn Syria in migrant crackdown. Home Office to step up deportation plan despite concerns within government about violence and deteriorating conditions in Syria. The I paper understands Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood wants to push ahead after promising enforced returns, but it could be like that. They say something and then it doesn't happen.
Right. We all. Well, look, let's be clear. There's a lot of people on the right who don't like Shabana Mahmood because of her name.
Yeah.
Because they just go, oh, it's a Muslim name, therefore she must be. She sounds like there are elements of what she's doing that are quite good.
Yeah, it sounds like. My big problem is she announces she doesn't do anything. Do you remember these harsh reforms that we all talked about and everyone lost their minds over? Where did they disappear to?
Right.
Let's not forget that everything
they say something doesn't
never do it. Yeah.
So it's her job to say tough stuff with an Asian name and then just not do anything.
I feel that that's what the position that she's been moved into. Willingly, I doubt it, but I think that's what she's being used as a kind of barrier. Because if you notice that when the reforms came out, the conversation wasn't about them being tough, it was about how everybody was being racist racist against her. There was a way of shifting the narrative. It's smart politics, but terrible for the country.
She wouldn't defect to reform, no, would she?
But I like.
Well, I'll take anybody. So yeah.
I mean, I think it is extraordinary as a basic premise that you flee Bashar al-Assad. Then he gets removed from office and you fight deportation to his opponents taking over.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there must be... And what the argument always seems to be is, we like it here now. Well, I actually think that what should happen is a rolling project of asylum, of refugee status. You can stay for a little bit, but then you go back. We like it here now.
Yeah.
We've set down roots now.
Yeah.
I think in general we should just say
it's
no.
It's natural, isn't it, that if you've been here for a few years, then of course you put down roots, of course you get involved. That's just natural. I think also, my brain has just kicked. They've picked Syria deliberately because this will get overturned by the ECHR like that.
Yes.
Of course it will.
And then,
There's
of
no way
course,
that
they
people
can
will be
take
able
in
to do
Shamima Begum.
Yes, I think that's actually the play here.
They're
It's actually,
desperate to get
we
Shamima
can't
back,
do
aren't they?
anything because the ECHR, or we've got to uphold international law. But yet we're trying, and that's the narrative they'll
We've
go down.
we've spent millions trying to bring Shamima back. Shamima
Apparently,
Begum
she's
back.
packed her bags already. She's
Yeah,
ready
but
to
also,
come back.
did you see the story the other day where we've had these ISIS brides come in anyway?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Shamima is purely there for representative purposes.
And loads of blokes, loads of young guys who went out and did the jihad. There's hundreds of them who were back here.
Do you know what? I remember us talking about this back when we did That Was the Vote That Was, about the number of times that this woman has propped up in our politics because we can't deal with her. And because we have the people
Well, of course, you know my
Labour Party.
dad's theory. She's already back here under an assumed identity.
It's not a bad theory.
Just to be clear, we've got no evidence that's true. It wouldn't surprise me, though.
At this point,
Although I bet the reason why
she's Shabana Mahmood.
I bet the reason why why that's not true is you, me, and Asher would know, wouldn't we?
Yeah, I think it's also that many people, as we've seen, can't keep a secret.
Yeah,
It's a big problem of conspiracy theories. You're relying on incompetent people to do something very competent.
Yeah, that's a reasonable point.
Right, the Daily Express, Vanessa Feltz, my joy, grief and regrets over 25 years. That'll be
I wish we could tell you the story. I wish. Do you know what isn't the Vanessa Feltz story the best one ever?
Which
no
one?
Comment. On the advice of counsel, no comment.
We can't tell you. We can't tell you that story.
It'll be in our memoirs.
Oh, I'll tell you what. That is superb. That story about when she got phoned up by the press. But we can't tell you it. We can't tell you it.
And terminally ill mum calls on shameless peers to stop blocking assisted dying law. Sophie's plea: don't snatch hope away from us.
This is interesting, actually, from a technical point of view, because the Lords are basically going to go into amendment bomb it, and they're just going to make sure that it doesn't pass. They're going to drag it out. They've already signalled today that they're willing to use the Parliament Act to push it through.
Wow.
It would be the first time they've used it on a private member's bill, from what I understand.
Wow.
It is basically a constitutional crowbar. It stops the Lords blocking things. It would take a very strong parliamentary party to push it through, and it would be absolutely astounding if they did. It means that the conventions and the understanding of Parliament now just don't matter to this government.
I don't want to sound... I don't want to, rake over old ground. But, my mum was in a lot of pain towards the end of her death. Painkillers nowadays can assist to a great extent. And also, for the last 24 hours of her life, she was just knocked out. She was virtually unconscious.
Well, James as well, obviously James Wells, right to the end. It wasn't the same with his first wife. She was bad at the end, but they really... The palliative care really was great.
The risk associated with offing with the elderly is nowhere near serious enough,
particularly under the legislation that's proposed, because it got
strict.
So I'm actually an advocate of the principle.
Are you?
But I'm an opponent of the bill.
Explain. So forget the principle, because we're all on one side or the other. Explain your problems with the practicality.
So basically, what they did is they took away the High Court judge. They took away the legal impartiality, which was actually the main bit that we needed to kind of stop the maybe Grandma shouldn't take these pills and we could get the house. That kind of, which we've seen in other countries, particularly in Canada. So there was also the fact that now it would be done by a panel. Well, what good decision has ever been made by a panel?
And once you open that door, in Canada, I think they let someone kill themselves because...
There was also the problems if you had severe mental health problems, and there was a problem if you had learning disability. The open door problem was a couple
who are in their 70s. They've got a severely disabled daughter. She was starved of oxygen at birth, and she's about, a mental age of 6, and she's 50 odd. And the terrifying thing is, once you open that door, when their parents are dead, they've got no relatives to look after. She'll take into care, and what they'll do in care, they go, "Oh, well, their life's not worth living. We're gonna, you know." This is what will happen with these laws. It might start off like this.
It's the creeping.
And you don't know how long. I mean, they told James, James. Well, he got 6 months. He went on for 5 years and had a great
There is a way to get around that problem, and what you do is you make it term limited. So, like you did with the Coronavirus Act, it has to have a vote of Parliament to reactivate it. So basically,
that's what happened.
Yeah, but that's what they could have put in, or what they should have put in to stop that particular problem. That if you have a problem,
if you look at,
it would go back to Parliament, and if Parliament can't decide, it would then go to a referendum. That's what you could have done.
But if you look at the classic, the James Wales situation, so. I mean, people used to take the mick, saying, like Hyman Roth, he's been dying for the past 20 years, right? But what happened was technological advancements kept keeping him alive.
Yes.
He would never have had the MBE if it wasn't for the fact that he kept going.
Yeah, and from what I understand, he set up an entire charity.
Oh, he did, yeah.
Yeah, so he had, that wouldn't exist if this situation. But I do have to admit that my support for the bill is I think that somehow we are at times prolonging suffering, and I do think it is a person's individual choice. I think the reason that people say, "Oh, we could just do it anyway," is so that mum and dad don't find you, or your wife or husband don't find you on the floor. I think that horror.
But I
think that's one of the reasons.
I'll tell you one thing that they found in the United States of America with executions, where there's no blood involved. Killing people is not that easy.
It's not.
The body will fight back.
Yes. I think it's giving people who want to do it the actual opportunity to do it.
What happens very often is that people are over-medicated in the sense that what they do at the moment, which I do support, is you prioritise pain relief over longevity.
Yeah.
Well, with somebody with 3 days to live, one would assume that is a sensible thing to do. But that is very different to killing somebody.
Yeah, it is interesting. This is a prime example of the power of language. Is it killing somebody? Is it assisted suicide?
They call it making them comfortable. So they give them morphine to make, but it will kill them ultimately.
I think look, if you need an amount of morphine which is going to destroy your kidneys in 20 years and you've got 3 days to live, I wouldn't be overly worried about it.
I also think there's a big problem of the kind of Protestantism where we don't talk about death in this country. We have a very childlike approach to it. We say, "Oh, we don't talk about it. It's something that's happened," and we're not as open as other societies. My dad lives on a church estate, and I like graveyards. I've always lived near a graveyard, which I hadn't realised until somebody pointed it out to me. I've always seemed to live near one.
Let's just be clear about a graveyard. First of all, they're only dead.
Yeah.
Right? They're not. Now, I appreciate there are sometimes issues with antisocial behaviour and crime, but the other thing about a graveyard is where ordinary people get an opportunity to make a memorial to their loved ones.
Yes.
So I think it's a great place.
It's terrifying at night when you go through.
Are they?
The one by me is terrifying because you can get a shortcut through the pub, but you don't want to go down.
Yeah, but that's if nutters are there. I mean, you shouldn't be worried about the dead because they are dead.
What's the name of the? There's a name for people who they go to graveyards.
Necrophiliacs.
No, that's not that one. It's like they have an obsession with graveyards in particular, and they go to them and they visit them, kind of thing. There is like a name of people who travel.
There's people who like graveyards.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? We're going to find that out after this.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview, and I'm going to admit something embarrassing. I'm here with Asher Gould.
That's not that embarrassing.
That's not embarrassing.
Quite embarrassing.
And Pete Barnes.
That's awesome.
Right, so last week...
Oh, we got the answer. He held on for the break.
Tafophile.
People that like graveyards.
Okay, last week I was papped on the street, and I firmly predicted that there would be news in the paper on Sunday about me. I got my lawyer ready. Yeah. I got my PR ready. Now, the guy I walked past said he was taking a photo of an empty street, and I happened to be walking past. Oh. He was, in fact, taking a photo of an empty street.
Wow.
And now, for those of you, look,
so you ruined the photo.
My street is extremely long. It's called Hatch Lane in Windsor.
Well, don't tell everyone.
It doesn't matter, because it's an extremely long street. It doesn't matter that I've told them. But you can Google Hatch Lane, Windsor in Google News and find there is an actual photo of an empty street.
Wow. With you waving?
With not me. No, they had to. You're
on Google Earth, man.
No, it's got nothing to do with Google Earth. It's got something to do with them actually doing a story about people driving too fast down that street.
Oh, wow.
Oh, what a story.
And so I got packed as a result.
That's...
And I thought to myself, when people were going, Andre, you're just being arrogant. It can't be a story about an empty street. It genuinely was. And you can find, and the reason I've said where I live, it's a long street, so you wouldn't know exactly where I lived. And it's not a photo of my house, but you can see. In fact, I'll tell you, Asher, while you're doing it, why don't I get you this picture and you can see the picture of the empty street. Here we go. Look, photo of empty street in Windsor.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that.
Terrible. An empty street. What a great story.
Great radio, by the way.
Great story.
Oh, my God.
Empty street.
Right, back to
the press.
Mark Dolan's come. Mark, what's coming up on the show? Well, it's going to be a really packed show. Give us a ring, 03444991000. Thanks, Andre and Ash. I'll be on your radio if you're listening in the morning in about 5 minutes. Thanks, Mark. See you in 5. Put your top on. The Times, Prue Leith, that's Freddie Krueger's mum who defected to Reform. Not a lot of people know that. The real reason why I left Bake Off. Well, you can find out why she left Bake Off.
What about that? Judges rule that baldness is a disability.
For women. I agree there, because a woman goes through chemotherapy. For a woman, it's a cosmetic thing.
As a guy who's hurtling towards baldness with an alarming
Well, I think you should get it as well.
I'm looking forward to the fact
but this is actually. But this story is important because it's actually removal of VAT on the wig.
Yeah, that's
Now, let me just say one thing. I'll tell you what they do need to remove VAT from: criminal defence.
Yes.
I mean, there are people... I mean, there was that bloke on the TV the other day who'd been accused of a very serious offence. He'd paid 120 grand in legal fees, and they charged him 20% VAT.
Oh, God.
And he was found not guilty.
Wow.
I mean, at least if you're found not guilty, you should be able to claim it back.
I've got to say, if you're found, I have to admit, that's astounding.
That's dreadful, isn't it?
That's dreadful.
That's dreadful, isn't it?
That's 24 grand.
In a way, depending on what the crime was or whatever, you think it's easy to just find me guilty.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, there are definitely people who go, it's just not worth the battle.
Yeah. Also in the Times, PM vows to build more sophisticated relationship with China. Keir Starmer opened the door yesterday.
Jonathan Powell.
He opened the door yesterday.
I love how Keir still thinks he's in control. That's literally anything. The backbenchers are running the domestic show, and he's pretending to be on the world stage.
Just very quickly, Asher, what about that?
Iranian Guard Corps to be treated as terrorists by UK. I don't believe it. Britain follows Brussels with law banning Ayatollah's Praetorian Guard after a protester's death. Ministers will introduce a landmark law that will allow them
How
to
has it taken us this long to basically prescribe this? Because that's
what about the Islamic Brotherhood, which is banned everywhere?
This is an interesting one because Farage has come out very strongly in favour of banning the Muslim Brotherhood. I think that is interesting when you link it to the UAE, say we're not sending the kids to Britain because of radicalisation.
I'm convinced that we've got it completely wrong on Muslims coming to this country. I think that ordinary Muslims are coming from across the Islamic world, and I think that there is a coterie like the Bolsheviks of a very small group of people trying to turn it into a revolution, and they are the Muslim Brotherhood.
I think so,
your average guy from Pakistan and Bangladesh has no idea what's going on.
Yeah, because I think most of them are trying to get away from what is essentially another arm of the Iranian regime that are terrorising London. Let's not forget the hate marches that we have in London is directly linked to funding from Iran. So they literally, we are severing the arm, and it's about time, and I don't understand why we haven't done it before.
And Cindy Yu says, how to be Chinese, and in brackets, it's cool now. You can't do that. That's cultural appropriation. This isn't Little Britain. The Daily Mail, is that it? Sir Cao Tao Sama gave the go-ahead to China's Nest of Spies embassy, then flew 5,000 miles to suck up to them. Yesterday announced deal so underwhelming, critics responded. Starmer will leave China virtually empty-handed, despite his craven kowtowing. Critics said last night the Prime Minister comes away with only warm words and marginal deals, having flown 5,000 miles. It's going to be a bit like that India deal, isn't it? Like,
We've reduced import duty on Scotch whisky. Important for the Scotch whisky sector, but a joke overall.
The interesting one is actually China has offered to help with the migrant crisis in terms of breaking up the supply chain of the engines, which is actually fueling the dinghies to get here. That is interesting to see how far they're willing to go to help. But also the Americans are apoplectic about it because, yet again, it is an intelligence-sharing operation with an enemy.
Yeah,
We're just keep giving them things. And you wonder why Trump is basically turning his back on Britain. We're just basically throwing mud at his face and then saying, please, can we have some defence? The way Europeans have treated America is absolutely abhorrent, so I'm not surprised that NATO is about to break up, which is my prediction for what is going to happen.
And they know
you're not allowed to do that yet.
Not yet.
The final minute for people listening on Thursday night.
I have other theories.
They all had to take burner phones because that's how much they don't trust the Chinese government.
Well, I'm a bit annoyed with Pete now.
Sorry. But don't worry, I have other things I could
Well, if you're listening on Friday morning, then Mark Dolan is up next.
Hi, yes, thanks, Andre. And I'm going to be next up with all the stories of the day.
If you're listening on Thursday night, then Pete normally spends the final minute doing his prediction. But we're not going to do that this time.
So other predictions.
Thanks for coming in, Pete. Mark Dolan is coming up next. Good morning, I'm Mark Dolan. No, that's me.
Okay.
Oh, now we've got to do our last minute.
Right, Pete, what is your prediction
Well,
then?
obviously, I think we're going to start seeing a stress test of relationships in terms of how other countries work with other ones, because I do think we're going to see this peace board become a new United Nations. It is basically a way of getting around the old world that doesn't work anymore, and Trump is hurtling towards it, not because he wants the Nobel Peace Prize, it's because he wants to end the wars of yesterday so we can prepare for the ones tomorrow.
There's some things that become so big that they become pointless.
And that's the UN is a prime example.
The UN has become all about inflicting the hardline views of the majority of dictatorial countries.
And it doesn't do anything. It is inaction. This era
they always say it's better than nothing, though.
No, it needs to be properly run, and this is why the world is in the mess, because we don't do anything.
Anyway, join us after the news, which is coming up. Thanks for coming in, Pete. It's all about your call, 03444991000. It's Andre and Ash on tour.
across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, what a remarkable thing. The front page of The Sun yesterday was saying that Lucy Letby is innocent. More and more people are saying that the former nurse was not responsible for killing any of the babies in her unit. Just to explain the argument in favour of Lucy Letby. Now, first of all, I don't know whether she killed someone or not. What I know is the case remained unproved. There is one case where the prosecution said that she must have injected the baby with insulin, because that would be the only way that she could possibly have killed the child, and there'd be absolutely no evidence that she did anything at all. It's all to do with statistics. What is the statistical likelihood of Lucy Letby being present for every single suspicious death that happened on the ward? Well, the answer to that question, if you're any good at maths, is 100%. The reason is because the definition of suspicious death were those deaths that Lucy Letby was present for. There were more unexplained deaths than those that she was prosecuted for, but the definition of an unexplained death or a suspicious death was one that Lucy Letby was present for. So the chance was 100%. The case remains completely unproved. But also, let me tell you something. Mid-staffs had a terrible, terrible management. I bet you that all that management, when they were cleared out by the NHS, moved to the Countess of Chester Hospital, which is, 15 or 20 miles away. The reality is that NHS managers are remarkably arrogant, NHS leaders are remarkably arrogant, and they're always keen to blame their own incompetence on somebody else. I think Letby's case remains unproven. I don't know whether she's a murderer or not. Anyway, I just thought I'd say on this show, and look, Asher and I have a bit of a laugh with you, but on this show, we take issues like this seriously. We said from day one that Letby's case remained unproved. Ken is in London. Ken, you're on Talk.
Good morning, gentlemen. I would like first to talk about this new Archbishop of Canterbury. But I'd like to talk about misogyny in the Bible, if you'll allow me to.
You can.
First of all, about this woman bishop, this is in total rebellion against the Word of God. The Word of God is very clear about this. God says in the Bible, a bishop must be blameless and the husband of one wife, period. So to place a woman as the bishop is in total rebellion against the Bible. And in fact, in my opinion, it's another nail in the coffin of the Church of England in total apostasy. That's my
now, misogyny in the Bible.
Misogyny in the Bible. Now, I've got proof here from the Bible that misogyny is not in the Bible. God doesn't hate women, and the Bible doesn't hate women. I'll tell you why. The three most crucial doctrines in the Bible for Christianity are first, the incarnation, the crucifixion, and the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead. Now, who did God choose to be the witnesses for the foundational truths of the Bible? Men or women?
It was women.
Chose women.
Correct.
They were all women. The ones who witnessed the incarnation were Elizabeth and Mary. Who witnessed the crucifixion? The women. The men had all fled, and John come back later. And the resurrection of Jesus from the dead, Jesus revealed to the women he had raised from the dead, not to the men. And also, the first people to preach the gospel that Christ had risen from the dead were not men, but the women were sent.
But can women be trusted as witnesses?
But see, that's an important point, Ash.
I'm joking.
Well, he's quoting what he perceives to be in the Quran.
Sorry, what did you say?
Sorry, what Asher was saying is that in Islam, it says that women cannot be trusted as witnesses to the same extent as men.
You have to have four.
The Quran is from the devil. I'm quoting from the Bible. God
I understand that. He was making a joke about the contradiction.
Well, you can't say that, Ken. I mean, maybe maybe some interpretations ahead after. Some people say Islam was peaceful, and some people say it was changed. The hijab and all that is added on after its culture.
Can I ask you this, Ken? I'm interested in this re-Christianisation process. Now, I made a video on my YouTube channel, which you can get to. It's Andre Walker on YouTube, and I sent it to you. I don't know if you had time to watch it, but it's about the comments of Danny Kruger, which was what Danny Kruger said was this, that Christianity is the foundation of our civilization, and it is how we reconcile our disputes, our social and civic conflicts. He's talking specifically about Britain. He says that Britain is the oldest Christian country. I'm not sure he's quite right on that, but he said the story of Christianity operating on our people is to make our institutions and culture what it is. What Kruger effectively is saying is this, that you cannot have the British state without Christianity, because it is the basis, the basic assumptions that underlie all of our laws, all of our society.
The foundations.
And by taking away Christianity, you actually make our institutions dysfunctional. So this goes further, Ken, than anything that's been said in the past. It says that the reason why we are having problems as a nation now is not just because we've turned away from Jesus Christ, but because Christianity was so fundamental to our institutions that without it we are lost. What's your response to that?
I would totally agree with every word you've said there. We've said that many a time. The reason, UK is literally on the highway to hell. This is a literal situation. The Bible says that the wicked shall be cast into hell, and all the nations that forget God. In the UK now, we've forgotten God and the Bible and his son Jesus. And around the Houses of Parliament, carved in stone, is the Lord's Prayer.
It is.
It's carved in French Norman.
Ken,
Oh, no, we're going to the Melania premiere. Donald Trump's there. Let's have a look at that live.
OK, Donald Trump is not speaking at the moment. We will go back to Ken in a minute. So this is the new film about Melania Trump. Yeah. The premiere is taking place in the Kennedy Center in Washington D.C. And Melania and Donald Trump are there now. We don't know whether President Trump's going to make any comments about Keir Starmer's most recent visit to China. He's there at the moment. But what we have seen in the past is that the president has used opportunities like this to make comments on global issues, global free trade, and indeed the situation perhaps in Iran might get mentioned. I can see that questions are being shouted at him, but for those of you that are listening, he's moving out the way now to ensure that Melania is...
And this is a film, it's called Melania, and it's just basically following her throughout. She's a very interesting woman. She's very beautiful, of course, a model, but also she's very interesting in how she... a lot of people put beauty to go, oh, she's beautiful, so she's not got brains, but actually she's quite a switched-on woman, and you can see her and Donald Trump seem to have a great partnership, don't they? They're just standing there on the stage in front of the Melania site. Is it made by Amazon, is it? Amazon. Oh, yeah, so Amazon / MGM Studios. Did Amazon buy MGM? Is that what? So they own MGM now. And so this is going to be a massive film. Has anyone here seen it? Is it little clips of it? We've seen little clips of it.
It's a premiere. It's interesting, though, isn't it, Asher, that at this time when there is so much stress in the world with regard to Iran, when there's so many issues with China, you can see that Donald and Melania are having questions shouted at them, but he's pointedly, the president, being incredibly quiet. Yeah. That can't be. Now, Melania's coming over to do interviews. I don't know if we're going to get the Melania interview. Are we going to get the audio on that?
Yeah, let's have a... no, we can't. But, Trump's sort of staying out of the way. He's being quiet, and she's sort of the centre of attention. Ken, what do you think? Are you going to be going to see Melania? It's out of the weekend.
It's Melania, not Melania.
Isn't it? I'm not going there, Ash, but let me just reinforce the point I was trying to make about women. The Bible does not promote misogyny, hatred of women. It's the exact opposite. God chose to give women the responsibility, not men, to be the first witnesses of the central truth of the Bible, the incarnation of Christ, the death of Christ, and the resurrection of Christ.
In that case, Ken, can I ask you this question? Why can't we accept that there is a different role for men and a different role for women? So as an example, my mother was a Eucharistic minister in the Catholic Church. Her job was to take communion out to the sick. And obviously part of that was to hold a short religious ceremony, but part of it also was to speak to them for long periods of time. So the priest would lead the main ceremony, and the women would go out individually to speak. But there's loads of examples of where men and women are equal, but they have different roles. Whereas now I fear in our society, everybody believes that men and women have to do exactly the same thing, and that's what makes them equal.
However, Andre, the Bible teaches that God has placed men responsible to lead in the church and to lead at home.
Yes.
What feminine does, feminine tries to usurp the authority of men in the church and at home. They are trying to take over from men. It's a work of the devil. So we have to be careful here. God has placed men responsible to keep order in the church and order at home. We've turned away from that. Chaos.
Okay.
Ken in London.
Ken, thank you so much. Let's go to Carol in Manchester. Carol, you are on Talk.
Oh, thank you. I've been listening to you. Amazing. I had a child, which is, with the grace of God, she's still here, my middle child.
Yeah.
And I had her at 28 weeks. Apparently, she was 26 weeks.
Wow.
Amazing.
So at the moment, you've had a baby that was 26 weeks. At 22, you could have aborted the child.
But they're moving up to 9 months,
I would never
Sorry, I didn't mean to insult you. I'm saying that the law is such that there are now children surviving at 23 and being aborted at 22.
With the grace of God, you know, like, I totally agree with you. And there's my daughter now. You know, like, my daughter is a professional in teaching. She's gone on to college. She absolutely, in our area, does amazing things for college and whatever's, and that she's amazing. Not only that, she's amazing with her education and everything.
So just to be clear, she was born at 26 weeks, which is an astonishingly early time to be born.
Yeah.
And how many problems has she suffered from as a result of the premature birth?
The only thing is like now she's in her 30s, and I think that's all through sports. She's been in cricket, professional cricket.
Wow.
Done. I could write a book on her. You know, like, I don't. But by saying that, I do not. I've only spoke to you tonight. I do not make her anything different than what she is.
No, but the reality is, when we're having a debate about assisted dying or state-sponsored murder, and indeed increasing the time when you can have an abortion, I mean, there is a big difference between saying a baby, I mean, look, I'm against abortion anyway, but there's a big difference between saying a baby would die if it was born at this age and saying a baby would live when it was born at this age. That, to anybody, must make a difference.
Well, it's alive when you're killing it.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
I totally agree. And don't forget that I went through, and I won't go through the people that I'm with. I don't think that's fair. But I went through with people, because don't forget that, you know, like, it didn't end that, you know, like, at birth. You know, like, it had to go through, you know, like, different stages, different things, you know, like, how they are, you know, like, even children, even a baby, you know, like, going through 30 weeks and 32 weeks and 34 weeks. They have to be in intensive care.
Well, even a 9-month baby is not. We're one of the few species where the baby is still a fetus when it's born and develops outside the womb, which is why the skull isn't joined up. So there's still a fetus when they're born for a few months.
I totally agree with you, Ash. You know, like, I don't think people, until you, which I did, until you go through that, you do not understand.
Well, what would be your message then to those people in the Labour government who want to abort children that are found to be disabled in the womb, or abort children right up to 9 months?
You know why? I'm going to say something. That was my middle child, and then I've got my older son. My baby, which is with the girls call him, because I've got 3 children, they call him the Prince. And then I've got my other son, because I was older in having him at an age, you know, like, he had to go through these different tests and whatever. And I thought, no way, I don't care, you know, like, at the end of the day,
Well, like, you
He's
do
got a
care, but you would
problem
still
or
love the
whatever.
child.
Pardon?
You do care, but you still love the child.
Of course I would. Do you think at the end of the day, when I get to a certain, probably about 4 months or 5 months, and then they come to me, you've got to have this test, it could be this, or it could be
the
that.
amniocentesis thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And I went, no. And that's my choice.
It's a Down syndrome test.
Yeah. Me and my husband, that was my choice. You know, like...
Because it can actually be dangerous, the amniocentesis, the big needle
and
can
it
actually
were.
dangerous in
Could
itself.
be. It could be.
Yeah.
But he's perfect. Again...
But you would have had the
he's a
kid anyway.
professional.
Had you have found out, you would have had the kid anyway if it had Down syndrome. So it doesn't actually make a difference, I'm guessing.
No, because you know why? Because he's in my belly.
Yeah, exactly. It's your child
He
still,
was
doesn't
in
matter.
my belly, and
Yeah.
that's the thing that's different. When everybody talks or has conversations or speaks or whatever, that child is in my belly. So speak to me then. Don't speak to me, you know, like on the, like in a, you know, like on somewhere else. You know, like when that child, when a mother has got that child in their belly, then speak to them. But don't speak to, or, you know, like, you can't speak to anybody else.
No, because
Not like, no disrespect to
Yeah.
like yourselves.
Well, you
can't-
don't know until you've done it. Of course.
we keep trying, but it just doesn't seem to be happening for us.
You know, like children are ever so special. You know, like in every different way.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, right? I've got an half sister that has learned difficulties.
Yeah.
And you know, like, I've had to. When my mother died, I had to. And I'll be honest, right? I've took over the role of her.
Yes.
You know, like, and that. And it is ever so hard. You know, like, and it has been ever so hard over the last few years. But even that, it makes me laugh. It makes me cry. It makes me angry.
Oh, it's still a person. I mean,
It's life experience. It's the tapestry of life, isn't it?
3 children.
Yeah.
As my 3 children who haven't got learning difficulties or whatever. It's a different
You get
thing.
rewarded through other ways, yeah. It's all life experience, isn't it? Anyway, thanks, Carol. It's Talk. It's Andre and Ash. We're going to go through all your calls. We've got Phil, Alex, Wayne, Robert, Paula, Nikki, Cindy, Paul and Grace. Back after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is...
Yes, this is Talk, and you know what? We spoke to him earlier, but let's get him back because I was slightly confused by what he was trying to say. But it is Phil in Worthing. Phil, how are you?
I'm okay, buddy. Andre, I'm coming back at you, actually. I normally talk to Ash or yourself, but I want to talk to you, Andre, about your fantastic journalism in exposing and brilliant, what's the word, oratory.
Are you trying to balance this out because you were bigging me up before and you thought he felt bad, so you come to big up Andre?
This is important.
It's nothing to do with that, is it?
Listen, if it was Ken, you wouldn't do this, right? Listen to me, right?
Yeah.
Andre.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ash, by the way.
Right.
I love you, Ash.
Thank
Andre, what you talk about with that Lucy Letby lady is really important journalism. That lady is sitting in prison, in my opinion, falsely. That is a cover-up on a massive scale going on there, and some journalist needs to get to the bottom of it. And
they always say we've got to trust doctors. Well, always remember, the UK's biggest serial killer was a GP, Dr. Harold Shipman.
Well, the thing is that girl, I think she's what they call the Aunt Sally. She's been put up to be knocked down, hasn't she?
The Patsy.
Yeah.
Thank you, Andre. The Patsy. Ash, thank you, Ash. She's a Patsy. That girl, imagine being in prison now, sitting there now, in a cell, and by all accounts, she's a very nice person, but according to everybody else there, of course she is. She's a completely innocent person.
There's a big Netflix documentary all about this next week, and if you look at The Sun today, there's a lot about that. Big expose on what's gone on. So the media are involved in this.
But
now.
just to be clear, the first person in British media to say she was innocent was me. I said it on the day of the conviction.
Absolutely. And this is what makes talkTV the most unique TV channel in the United Kingdom. We rely on you and Ash and many others. Kevin. And
not that many others. I mean, a few others.
We rely on so many people at your channel to.
Trisha.
Not Trisha.
Phil.
Trisha.
Phil, what happened? You stopped,
Andrew
Phil.
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 What were some of the other nutters? That
Oh no,
liked?
we lost Phil.
Nobody liked Trisha Goddard. She was.
I thought she was quite pleasant. Anyway, thanks, Phil. Kevin, Basingstoke. Kevin.
Morning. Yeah, this Lucy Letby case is a prime example why we shouldn't have the death penalty.
Well, my idea for the death penalty would be you wouldn't get it unless it was absolutely proven, as in Harold Shipman, as in Fred
DNA
West,
proved.
as in the guy that killed Lee Rigby, the two guys. That is 100% proven. That would have to be a new legal threshold for the death penalty, in my opinion. And then it would be all right.
Mistakes can be made.
How can it be made if it's definitely seen on camera, like the guy killed Lee Rigby, like Shipman, like Fred West? We know for 100%.
But also, you spend time.
Lucy Letby wouldn't be executed because she wasn't,
But also, you spend time on death row, normally 10, 20 years. Therefore, Letby will be free in the next couple of years.
Well, yeah, there is that. I give you that. Yeah, maybe so. But anyway, that's not why I phoned up. I just wanted to spread a bit of good news for once.
Go for it.
Immigration is down 70%. Murder rate in London is at a 11-year low.
But the murder rate is down because people have stopped going out because they're worried about getting murdered. I mean, stabbings are through the roof in London. Murders are down. Medical technology improved. But a lot of people, young lads who are often the ones getting stabbed, they're not going out. They're busy playing their Tamagotchi. They're scared to go out.
Well, what about this one then? Murder rate in the whole country is at a 50-year low.
Yeah, but that's just because people aren't going out much, you know what I mean? But there's more stabbings.
What, for 50 years?
One of the issues there is, of course, there are more stabbings, but improved medical technology, specifically paramedics being on the scene quickly. Because in the old days, you get an ambulance driver, now you've got a paramedic. Actually, there are more attacks that would have proved fatal in 1950 now, but they don't prove fatal because of improvements in medical technology. You can tell I'm a debater.
And police actually have...
I can debate that as well, because the actual number of people going to A&E with stabbings, that has gone down as well.
Well, that's not what I heard. I heard stabbings is up through the roof.
By the way, the reason why immigration has gone down is because it's net migration Emigration has massively increased. That means that what has happened is the numbers coming into the country has slightly fallen, but the numbers of people escaping the country has massively increased.
Which are the British people leaving, the young leaving, and the rich older people leaving, and that's why it's ridiculous. Of course, there's more coming in.
So just to ask you a question, Kevin. So first of all, we appreciate you calling. You're somebody who disagrees with an awful lot of what you hear on here. When you look around Britain now, do you go, nailed it, this is a utopia?
No, because I think most of our problems is down to Brexit.
Okay. But when we were in the European Union, do you think it was Britain was great?
It was much better. I think they say that our GDP is down 4%, which is about £100,000.
That's not because of Brexit. We never even had Brexit, did we? They stifled it. Now we got Rachel Reeves as our budget.
No, in fairness, they being the Bank of England analysts do say the economy will have lost 4% as a result of Brexit. I mean, what they don't tell you is that Brexit was an opportunity to cut taxes and regulations, which never happened.
Yeah, we just aligned with
Europe. I don't
Europe.
want them to tax. That is a bad thing, cutting tax and regulation.
Well, I don't agree.
Regulation.
Cutting regulation means lower standards.
Correct.
And lower workers' rights, things like that, which is...
Correct. So as an example, the person who made this paper at a paper mill in Germany no longer has to have an anti-slavery policy. And slavery in Germany, let's be clear, since 1945 has been at best minimal.
And regulation, businesses aren't hiring people now because of red tape, regulation, national insurance. They're not doing it.
But I think the point I'm making is, all things being equal, the benefit of Brexit is your ability to remove all of those regulations that stifled us in the EU. If all you do is add additional regulations through Brexit and remove no regulations, even though you had the power to do it, that will be an economic disbenefit, there's no doubt.
Beano, Brexit in name only, that's what we had.
Do you know that the EU just signed two massive
trade deals,
trading agreements, one with India and one with...
But they've got no industry. Have you seen Germany? Used to be the most productive industrial nation in Europe, and now look at it. And this is the EU. They're all falling down. France, Spain.
But what the EU does is massively increases tariffs and non-trade barriers to countries, and then does a trade deal to reduce those tariffs and non-trade barriers. You know what they did in Singapore, in Hong Kong, and in other countries? They just simply unilaterally dropped the trade tariffs. I believe that there should be no tariffs on any imports to the United Kingdom. Let's start from zero, and then maybe come up with some if we're very worried.
But the thing is, now we've left the EU, we still have to follow whatever they...
No, we don't have to.
Yeah, we don't have to. They've done it. They've chosen it because they went back on what the people wanted.
If you don't follow their laws, you can't sell your product.
We sell more products not to the EU. They're a small market compared to the rest of the world. Is a much bigger market for us than the Europe.
Well, but the EU is one of the a really wealthy bloc. You might have there might be a lot of
not
other
for much
people
longer,
as well,
isn't not for
but
much
they
longer.
Haven't got much. They haven't got. They're not going to buy the things we sell them.
Well, hang on a second.
We don't sell anything. We don't have anything. We've got no industry.
How is Samsung capable of selling to the EU?
Yeah.
Samsung?
Yes, a South Korean company.
Well, yeah, there are countries, but...
No, it's very simple. What they do is they manufacture products for export, which are export strength, if you like, and then they have stuff for their own internal market. Now, the reality is a lot of people... So, as an example, when the EU brought in a rule that all mobile phones have to use a USB Type-C charger, most countries in the world just adopted that as well. Who cares, right? So it's not the law to do that in Mexico, but they do it anyway. The reality is you can follow some regulations, but not others if you're an independent country. What we do in Britain is follow all EU regulations. So stuff that we were going to export has to follow EU regulations. Stuff consumed locally has to follow EU regulations. Stuff sent to the United States of America doesn't have to follow EU regulations because, of course, it's being exported. But do you see my point? What we're effectively doing is we are following those regulations even though we don't have to.
Yeah, but we have to follow them. But if we make something in this country, we're not going to make We're not going to make two different versions.
Why not? We used to make different cars for America. We put different.
Hang on a second. In South Korea, Samsung will make 15 different types of its normal phone. It will have the dual SIM version. It will have GSM versions. It will have versions that are predominantly in Japanese, probably less so now. But it will have multiple different types.
Yeah, I mean, in America, the iPhone doesn't have a SIM. It's all a digital SIM. Here it is. You know, you change it for the different markets.
Yeah, you can get these phones, for example. I don't know about this
SIM
one.
free.
Well, you can get two SIM versions of it for people. So, as an example, there are people in Belgium who like a Belgium and a Dutch SIM card, and you can do that. There's loads of different versions.
You're not going to have a factory, one that makes things for one.
But you aren't. But the very point I'm making, Kevin, is in the Samsung factory they make different regional variations.
Why can't you do that?
Yeah, but it's more expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, but they do it. It's worth it in the profit and loss. Yeah, but they do that.
Two different versions of them is twice the cost.
No, it's not. It's not twice the cost.
It is not twice the cost.
It's ridiculous. It's just changing a plug, a USB for it's a very minor cost.
Yeah, a dual SIM phone is the most common international version of a phone. But
stick another hole in it.
Yeah, but there's more to it than just
no. So
it's not double the cost.
But the point is, there's regional variations of different things. If you remember DVDs with region codes, you had to have different DVDs in different areas to avoid copyright jurisdictional issues. It was fine. You just sold different DVD players coded in different ways in different jurisdictions. It's not a major problem. The problem comes when you're following those regulations when you don't have to and putting cost onto business. So what happens is businesses have to bear the cost of exporting to Greece when they never exported to Greece.
And the consumer loses out.
That's when you lose out.
Just pass the costs on anyway.
Anyway, we're over on the break.
Well, thanks, Kevin. Let's do what he just said.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. Let's go to Nikki in Yorkshire. Nikki, you're on Talk.
Hello, Andre. Hello, Ash. How are you both?
All right. Yeah, how are you, Nikki?
I'm good, thank you. It's been quite a while since I came on.
Yeah, man. Where are you in Yorkshire? It's a very big county.
Doncaster.
Aye, Donny.
3 counties.
Aye. So what's up, Nikki? What you calling about, man?
Well, I've not been on for a while since I was elected as a councillor. So I thought I'd give you guys a ring and let you know how it's going.
Well, let me say, there's a top story in the Telegraph. Government accused of running scared of voters as councillors step down in protest over the delays. So the councillors have launched a revolt after Labour cancelled local elections for 4.6 million people.
Oh, right. Well, my revolt's not because of that. My revolt's based on council trying to make me sign a non-disclosure agreement.
Oh, really? So tell us a little bit about this delicious story. You've got to sign an NDA.
Well, I'm not signing it, but...
No.
What's it concerning? What, are you leaving your work and they want you to sign it when you...
No, she's a councillor.
No, it's to do with Doncaster Sheffield Airport.
Right.
There's been quite a few leaks in the Yorkshire Post recently about the lease that was signed with a company.
Explain the details about the airport.
What do you want to know?
Well, anything. We don't know anything about
What's the problem with the airport?
Well, it's closed down twice in Doncaster.
So it went bankrupt?
Yeah, twice. And they tried to... The council are reopening it. They've got funding from various places, and it went to a council vote to take on £53 million worth of debt. And as councillors, we never got sight of the lease. What
is the argument for having an airport in Doncaster?
Well, they're saying it will bring business in.
If someone lands there, but the problem is nobody wanted to land there, didn't they?
Well, say it went bankrupt twice, sort of thing. But the council are trying to reopen it. But like I said, there's been a lot of leaks about the lease, such as property being approved for housing developments and things like that.
So what did they want you to not disclose? What are they scared of?
I don't know. They're saying it's commercial confidentiality, but it was at the point where you couldn't discuss it with other councillors, you couldn't take legal advice on it, and all sorts of stuff.
Well, there's something called a Part 2 item in local government. That is to say that there's a Part 1 meeting which is open to the public and a Part 2 meeting which is confidentially privileged. All you have to say to the council officers is, if you want to disclose it in a Part 2 meeting, that's fine by me. If you don't want to tell me the details of the airport, I don't really care, because I think it's a shambles of a deal anyway, and I'm opposed to it.
Yeah, there's a lot with it, and I wasn't opposed to it if they had private investment. My concern was the risk to public funding, for other services and things. But the fact that they wanted to sign an agreement where we couldn't discuss it or report back to the people who were entitled to the transparency and honesty.
But why make you sign an NDA? You've got professional standards anyway. I mean, my argument would be that it may well be that the NDA conflicts with your professional standards, which is to say that you have a duty to the taxpayers of your borough.
Exactly.
And if the officers find that embarrassing, then it may well be that you have to break the NDA on that basis.
Well, for me now, the scandal isn't as such the lease. It's the fact that they want to gag all the councillors.
Well, thanks, Nikki. I mean, it's important. Isn't it? There's still, it's probably quite a small airport, isn't it, Doncaster? I mean,
it won't make any money.
It'd be like biplanes.
The big question nowadays is whether Ryanair, EasyJet, Wizz are going to land at these places.
Do you know Ryanair's now apparently the biggest airline in the world?
I'm sure it was. It has been in Europe for a long time.
Yeah. Anyway, let's go to Grace in London. Grace.
Hi. I heard you mentioning abortion at 22 weeks, but unfortunately the limit's 24 weeks.
Oh, they're making it 9 months. 9 months.
You are right.
Yeah, it's not. They tried to make it 18. I remember David Alton, but they want to do it right up to the point of birth now, which is murder.
Well, I've heard that's
unbelievable. That's like murder.
It's already possible beyond 24 weeks if there's some
Down syndrome.
disability.
If there's other things.
Including Down syndrome, which is horrific. But also I've heard that club foot can count. I mean, I would imagine that people with...
The reality is, one of the mistakes, well, I don't know if it's a mistake, but one of the things that happens amongst us anti-abortionists, and I include Asher and I in this, is that sometimes we're not practical. Every reduction we can have in your right, quote unquote, to abortion is a positive step forward. But what frustrates me, the law says that you can have an abortion if there is a significant risk to mother or child. That is not the real rule. The real rule is it's abortion on demand in this country.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is illegal.
Well, that's subjective, isn't it, that rule? Because they could always say, it's going to be harmful psychologically for the mother or something.
It'll be harmful psychologically for the mother to have a baby.
Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, one could go on and on about that. I was thinking more about things that Ken was saying. I think that it's important to stress, I'm not arguing with Ken about this, I'm sure he'd agree, that the difficulties or errors that one might have with the C of E shouldn't deter anyone from Christianity itself, because you don't need to be in the C of E. Or the Catholic Church. I mean, Petri was talking about this last night, and one of the things she was saying was that, you know, numbers are still going down in the C of E and the Catholic Church. But what's not often enough pointed out is that numbers are rising in other denominations. There are more and more people in non-denominational churches and Pentecostal churches.
Because of the dumbing down of the Church of England.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
My primary concern with the C of E, although I don't follow it as closely as I maybe ought to, and I'm not within it, although I went to C of E school. My primary concern is not women in roles of leadership, because, and I don't want to get into an argument about this or upset Ken, but I don't think that the verse that Ken cited necessarily means that only men could be in positions of leadership.
No, what it means is you can't have multiple wives.
Exactly, yeah. And also, though Paul says in one verse that women should be quiet, the original Greek word doesn't specify that they can never talk at all. It says that they should be able to become quiet.
Just in a quiet way, yeah.
Sorry, just to be clear, St. Paul said women need to learn to be quiet sometimes. Is that basically what he said?
Yes. And in the context of all his other
I saw a bloke with a T-shirt that said, "I don't need AI. My wife knows the answer to everything already."
The fact that in other letters he writes about women who have been in positions of teaching and leading churches, I think on balance, though I get that there are really good arguments on either side, I think on balance it's probably okay for women.
Do you know on balance, I fundamentally don't care. My problem with the Church of England is that they don't advocate for Jesus. Now that is a fairly fundamental problem in my view.
That's exactly. And I heard Sarah Mullally give a brief.
Jesus.
I can't remember what it was a few months ago, maybe when she was announced, and she talks rightly about how we need to reach out to the community and show love. That's great. I completely agree with that. However, it's fundamentally important that Jesus died and rose to offer us eternal life.
Well, it's like I remember being in a debate years ago and somebody saying democracy is about freedom and fairness. No, it's not. It's about people voting. Right, so you can talk about all of these things that you believe a good Christian should do, but number one is believe in Jesus.
Yeah, and Jesus said to repent and turn to Him.
And Grace, whether you like it or not, Ken is right. Ken as a Christian turns around to Asher and says, whether you like it or not, Jews, in his view, should start believing in Jesus, because that's his religious view. Now, a Jew would say, Christians need to recognise that Jesus was just an ordinary bloke who was a rabbi. Right, that's fine. But do you see my point? You do have to say, this is not all about fairness. This is not all about charity. This is not all being nice to your mates. Fundamentally, I'm a religious leader and I believe in something. And that belief has to be that Jesus Christ is the Messiah.
Yeah, and well, the fairness is that he does make this offer to everyone, but the C of E doesn't seem to be talking about that offer enough.
No,
he says, believe me or go to hell.
Well,
you know, that's not much of a sales pitch.
Hell is separation from God. You're not going to spend eternity with God if you don't want to. Jesus says you can spend eternity with Him.
What is it?
Passive aggressive. That is passive aggressive.
It seems to me that what the Church of England leadership, not the ordinary members, and I'm sure not the ordinary vicars, it seems to me that the Church of England's leadership seems to be just a place to park your backside later in your career. You know, as an example, with the last Archbishop of Canterbury, he made a lot of money as an oil trader, wanted to do something in his semi-retirement, and being a bishop seemed like quite a good thing to do. You don't get a sense that any of these people have any particular religious fervour. And certainly you don't get the impression that they're particularly believers in God.
I don't know why they're not more eager to tell people. I mean, Ken rightly pointed out that women were the first people to see Jesus at the resurrection. And that's one of various reasons that I and others have for concluding that it actually did happen, because if people had made up the story, they wouldn't have said that it was women, because in that society, women were looked down upon to some extent. So if the story had been made up, they wouldn't have put that detail in there. They would have said it was men who saw Jesus.
Good point.
So for a number of reasons, although it sounds mad, it seems that it actually did happen. So why are the C of E not trying harder to tell?
But I mean, if I was a religious leader, what I would say is, forget managing the estates, forget the investments, right, the fundamental solution to our problems as a denomination of Christianity is we just need more people to agree with us, right? Everything flows from that, doesn't it?
Well, we want more people to turn to Jesus.
Yeah. But every other problem you've got with churches that don't have enough parishioners, with not enough recruitment to the vicar, to vicars, every problem that you've got as the Church of England is fundamentally resolved by getting more people to agree with you, because the shoot off from having more people agreeing with you is more people turning up, is more money in the coffers, is churches reopening, is more recruitment into the clergy. Everything is solved by that problem.
Anyway, thanks, Grace. We've got to take a little break. It's Andre and Ash on Talk.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on your mobile, and on your side. This is Talk.
Oh, we're on air now. Let me just plug this. Plank of the Week, by the way, is going to be on tomorrow. It's got Kevin, of course, presenting it. Adam Brooks, Chloe Dobbs, Ellie Hodges, and that Alex woman's going to be on it as well. So that's on our YouTube channel at 1 p.m. tomorrow. And I'm back with Grumpy Old Men this weekend, Saturday. What time is it? So just going to be there on YouTube, and also What Just Happened. What Just Happened? This is a very busy day, but a really busy day is we've got Paul Rossing, because it's a very special occasion. He's got a very special guest on at 1:30. So who have you got on, Paul?
We have joining us from 1:30 live from Miami. It's the fastest man on planet Earth, which is Usain Bolt.
Wow, Usain Bolt.
Off he goes.
He won't be late, will he? So that's going to be interesting.
Well, he's over there for the Formula E races, which are covered on TalkSport 2 over the weekend.
So that's the car racing?
Yeah.
So he's running against cars. He's that quick?
I presume he's jogging alongside them and doing their windscreens at the same time.
He'd probably be quicker off the blocks for the first couple of metres, and then they'd catch up with him.
But they're disconcerting. I don't know if you've ever seen Formula E, because it is, of course,
it's
quiet.
the electric one, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's quiet. So you don't get that throb of It's just slightly kind of counterintuitive.
A lot of them are hydrogen-powered electricity. Because I don't know how it quite works, but the hydrogen makes the electrics, and then they're really fast.
If
as
I
well.
had a car, I'd go bluff at that, Ash.
It's
Really?
it's basically they're hair dryers. The thing is, electric cars, but they're so fast. You know, it does it like you get cars now, like a basic electric car. It's quicker than a Ferrari.
I used to have one years ago when it was the Nissan Leaf, and you got
30-mile range or whatever.
Well, I got 80 miles on a full charge.
Yeah.
And they warn you. They say when you get these cars, you're going to suffer from range anxiety, and you do. Because I was only driving to London and back. I was only about 20 miles out.
Yeah.
But you put your foot down. When say you hit 65, and you suddenly see your potential mileage go.
Yeah, and then you put the heater on, or you put the radio, and in the winter it's like half the amount, and then as it gets older, the battery gets weaker. I've got a mate who's got one of them. He can get about 30 miles.
I've got so many
out
new friends though, because every now and again you'd run out. I'd be 4 miles from home.
Oh no!
So I'd coast it into the gutter and knock on some old lady's door and sit there for half an hour, have a cup of tea, give her a fiver for the electricity, and make it.
So did you have like a normal plug?
Oh yeah, normal, 3-pin plug.
That's quite a nice. It's quite a nice break-up of the journey. Have a cup of tea with an old lady.
That must be slightly weird, because remember, you are Paul Ross, whereas she's got Paul Ross knocking on the door. It's like that's Paul Ross.
Well, people couldn't get their heads around it. I'd say my car's run out of power, electricity. I said, all right, there's a filling station. No, you don't understand. And I said, well, I haven't got. I said, all I need is literally, if you unplug your kettle for me, I can plug it in there.
Right, so this week there's been a debate about whether to make ketamine a Class A drug. Let's just be clear. People must have thought that like the dinner's been poisoned or something. Because you can imagine phoning up going, because let's be clear, you think of yourself as a normal geezer, but you are fairly famous, right?
Well, my brother is.
Well, so,
it's a bit like Ash and Johnny.
Me and Johnny.
But you've been on The Chase and all this sort of thing and whatever. So you're not going to believe who knocked on my door the other day. Paul Ross, he was out of power for his car. He plugged his car into my kitchen, and it was all good.
I got a great comment once, because of course I was doing radio, so I did early morning radio elsewhere, driving back, so I wasn't really telly-friendly.
You didn't have a packet of Daz with you? And that?
No, those were the days when I was earning good money, and I knocked on one old lady's door. The first person I was in, somebody very sweet. I said, oh, hello. And she said, I know you from somewhere. And I said, well, you might have said. And so he said, well, you're a lot smarter and better looking on the telly. He
thought you were your brother.
I had the best one ever. I went to an event the other day for the Iranian opposition, and this old woman walked up to me and she went, "Oh, should we get a photo?" And I went, "Sure, no problem." She went, "Oh, not with me. I'm not famous. You should get it with him. He's the famous one." And I went, "No, I'm meant to be the famous one. How dare you?" And so, how did you get Usain Bolt on then?
Well, I think we've got our own guy over there, John Jackson, who covers it for us. We've got full commentary over the weekend. And I think he was saying that he did some promotional thing. I think he turned on this massive building in Miami. I think they call it the Tower or something over there. He'll tell us about it at 1:30, though.
Of course, it's a few hours back, so it's a good time for them, isn't it? That's why you get some of the big international guests
so
on.
they're 5 hours behind us, which is great. Perfect for us. So we're back, 9:30, 8:30, 9:30 over there.
Saying.
Well, that's how you do your... That's a lot of how you do your show, isn't it? Yeah. By chasing time zones. Yeah. So it's always sort of, 2 in the afternoon somewhere, because I don't know if you know this, I don't know if you follow it, but a lot of our viewers and listeners, a lot of our listeners rather, stay on to listen to your overnight show.
But they're in like Malaysia or somewhere, aren't they?
But it's because you do an awful lot. It's not just the sport you do, politics you do, book reviews you do.
We've got a great guy on this morning, he's been on the show many times, Paul Dudridge, who runs a podcast. He's a Welsh guy, but he's now got dual citizenship. He's in the States. We touch base with him.
Oh, right, in the States. I thought you meant English and Welsh.
No, but he touches base. We touch base every couple of weeks because he's very big on. He's a Brit MAGA basically, but he's also quite distant from it. So he can take stock of it. So we'll catch up with him because with Trump, it changes day to day.
Hey, should we ask him the question that we asked earlier about what is somebody who likes graveyards? Because he
knows everything. You
presented Most Haunted, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, I was only like the links person. It's a lot of old toffee, basically.
Okay, so it's Taffaphile.
With Derek Acora.
Was it Taffaphile?
That's like he likes Welsh people.
Yeah, that's like in Welsh people. Did you do it with Derek Acora?
No, I was after that time. I'd love to have done it with Big Derek the Faker. That would have been a great
Go on, tell us your stories about Derek at Super.
Oh, well, he launched from the James Whale show, actually.
Yeah, of course.
He used to come in here and he'd do 3 hours, and me and James would just sit back, and the board would go mad with mainly old ladies going, and he...
How's my husband?
And you got used to what he'd say.
Yeah, because he did it every month. I'd notice he'd say the same thing, so I'd go, Hilda, you've got a dog in the spirit world, haven't you? And she'd go, oh, yeah. Wait, yeah. Well, he had a problem with his ears, didn't he? He had a problem with his ears. No. Well, with respect, Hilda, he did have a problem, and he'd get quite aggressive, you know what I mean, if you disagree.
You'll remember when you go home.
Yeah. You weren't a kind enough person to sort the ears out, were you, Hilda? So put the guilt on them.
But it's extraordinary. I thought I watched one of them once who went, I'm thinking of. So there were 4 of you in total. No, there were 5. No, but it was 4 plus you.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
cold reading, they call that.
Cold reading.
One of the guys we had was great because he used to paint his almost ghost stories, and he'd go into the place and he'd go, oh, and the vet field would say, what's that? So I was just for a column of cold air about the height of a small child. What a thing to say.
Now, no win, no fee. I've just been told about this, and you didn't get any fee or something.
Well, I did 2 series of it, and the first series I did all right.
Yeah.
But the second series, every game show's got a floor, and basically the deal was if the contestants went head to head, and you had to predict whether somebody get a right answer. It's quite complicated.
Yeah.
If you said, I think Andre's going to get it right, and you got it wrong, I'd got it wrong as well, so the host, that was me, got the fee. But it's a very simple way of shutting it and me out. He always said, well, I think he's going to get it wrong. Because if he does get it wrong, I'll get the fee, but if he gets it right, he gets the fee, I've got nothing. So the second series...
It's a flawed concept, isn't it?
They didn't, it sounds like Mr. Telly, but they didn't even send the car, I got the bus to work, carrying my suit bags home, I did nothing. Not a bad old show, though.
I once saw Golden Balls. I had a mate, it was a warm-up, and Jasper Carrot presented it, and at the end you have to swap or combine your...
Steal or
swap. And I've seen it, and it's actually now on Twitter. The guy basically was a market trader, and the other guy was sort of posh bloke, and he said, look, he said, don't worry.
I'm going to steal.
Split it. And no, he said, I'm going to, it was something like that. And so they both get the money. He said, I'll split if you do. And basically the guy said, well, yeah, if you don't, I know where you live and we'll come. And he literally threatened it. And the guy got scared and he did split. And I thought, this is a breach of Ofcom rules, isn't it?
I thought so,
yeah. But anyway, it's out there and it went through and everything.
I thought that guy, if it's split or steal, there was one guy who said, I am going to steal. Right, and he goes, what do you mean you're going to steal? He goes, if you put split, I'll put steal, and then I'll give you half the money at the end. And then when it opened up, they were both splitting. Oh, it's like, that's quite good, isn't it?
Because I was on the Weakest Link committee for charity, but I cheated on it and I won it. And basically, I was on with Gary Bushell and Carol Malone. Carol used to be on this station, of course.
Yeah.
And I said, look, if we
and
don't...
Bushell did.
Yeah, and I said, if we don't vote for each other, we'll be the final 3, and we were. So then Carol came back and said, me and Bushell...
What about the guy, I love this, where he overheard his brother on Family Fortune say chicken, so he knew the answer must be turkey, so that's why he kept saying turkey. Do you remember him? Where he answered on